Good evening and welcome to the Gin and Tonic show on Friday, the 2nd of February, 2018. A warm welcome to my always welcome co-panelist, Abu and Stop Spamming, and to our guest tonight, Tan, or that's as he's known in Speaker's Corner at least. So welcome, guys. Hope you guys are all well. Thanks for joining us this evening. Welcome to all the viewers and those in the chat. Give us a thumbs up if you enjoy the show, and even if you don't, let us know in the chat why you don't, and we'll certainly listen to what you have to say. So welcome, guys. Just share with us any thoughts you've got on the start before we go to our wonderful, crazy comments.
So who should start? Is it me or is it
hi
guys
discussion?
Yeah, no, what we'll do now is I'll read some crazy comments, and then Tan, please do respond to them. After each comment, I'll give us a chance to discuss each comment here, because a number of them are related to you, so obviously it'd be good to get your views on them. So let's get straight into that then, I think, without any further waiting around. Let me bring these comments up and make sure that they're presenting to everybody. There we go. Hopefully everybody can see that. There we go. Great. Okay, so this was a crazy comment from the Masked Arab. You may not know him, Tan, but he's an ex-Muslim, quite a knowledgeable guy. So he made a response video to a Muslim who had made a response video to his video, and somebody in the comments there just said, more Arab nonsense. And this was like literally less than an hour after the video had been done. So I knew this guy could not have possibly have watched the video, because the video is a good hour or more long. So there's no ways he could have done.
By the way, this Asadullah, this Kevin guy, Dawa Films, he's also studying in KL.
Is he? Yes, he's got a list of credentials that, as somebody else pointed out, not my words, another commenter, he's very impressed with himself because he listed all his so-called credentials. But anyway, I said to this guy, so is that your considered opinion after thoroughly watching and evaluating the video, or just your unsubstantiated emotional opinion? Because clearly this guy had put this opinion in without watching the video. It was just too quick a time afterwards to have done that. So this is obviously the same thing. I watched Kevin's, or whatever his name is, Asadullah, his video originally. So that's sometimes the case. This one, I don't know if you sent me this. Stops, does this one look familiar? This is not my one. Or did you send me this, Abu? I'm not sure. But this is a comment by a female evolution Darwin. Or maybe you sent me the Stops.
I don't recognize this. Oh, did I?
Okay. I'll read it and see if it brings back any memories. Salam alaikum.
No, not the whole thing. This is like half a book.
Well, I'll do the top part at least. Basically, the idea that Darwin was on the Beagle and then saw finches and then evolution dawned on him was actually a myth. It was concocted by his granddaughter way after his death. Oh, no. Oh, dear, we've got a conspiracy theorist. There are plenty of evidences. The first is from his granddaughter herself. She said that she didn't understand why Darwin never talks about the finches in his introduction. For more detailed explanation, go and read that book, and then there's a quick summary there. I don't know who sent me that. Not you, Stops, or Abu?
I don't recognize this.
Okay.
Not me either.
I don't know who sent it to me. It's definitely not mine either. So there's somebody's on the conspiracy theory there. Darwin never came up with evolution. Okay. Moving swiftly on from that, from whoever did that. Comment by female symptomatic why Muslims question have doubts, polygamy. Again, I don't know if you sent me the Stops. Whoever it is, they're putting in a nice title there so we know what it's from. And so this comment says, what are the reasons men want multiple wives?
This is mine. Yep.
Okay. Is the first wife not fulfilling their needs? Is the honeymoon period over and they want new excitement with somebody else? I personally believe one wife should be enough for you, unless you're doing it for other reasons, such as wanting to help out a divorce or widow. But I doubt nowadays men want a second wife for that reason. No kidding. I think it complicates things between husband and wife and causes the stress for the first wife. Having your husband sleep with multiple women. I mean, it just doesn't sound right if you think about it. I personally would never accept my husband marrying someone else, because it would make me feel physically sick knowing he's sleeping with another woman. It might have worked in prophet times, but I don't think it suits this day and age. I might be wrong. I don't know. Maybe there are stronger women out there that are more accepting of it.
And this is the reason why I put it here, because it shows reality. It shows how a woman today in the 21st century will not accept what this God is telling her, that she can be a fourth or she can have 1/4 of a man. She just says, no, fuck this God. I don't care what he's saying. I don't like it. I don't want it. And maybe it was okay for prophet times, but not today. And that's it. I don't care what gods and Mohammed's and anyone is saying. I want my life here today in the 21st century. And this is what I'm seeing all the time.
Was this a Muslim woman or?
Yeah.
You know? Oh, okay. Right. Okay. So she was more the modern type and wouldn't have been happy. Right. I'm with you.
I kind of agree with this sentiment. I mean, why does man need so many wives? I mean, if you don't like your current wife, then divorce and get a new one, and that's how it goes. It's like singular, one husband, one wife, simple, straight to the point. I mean, this is like trying to legalize cheating, you know, because you want to cheat, so then you can have more wife, and it just doesn't make sense in the modern world. I mean, nobody's saying that you can't have sex with more women. I mean, morally, that's debatable. But the thing is, I mean, it just doesn't work because you have so many wives. And again, coming back to men and women. So back then, the excuse used by Muhammad or Islam was because they want to take care of the woman. I mean, if you want to take care of women, then you don't have to marry them. So coming to this modern world today, I mean, where we can have all kind of relationship. And when I say all kind of relationship, you can have an orgy. I mean, in your room that nobody give a shit, and you can have different kind of relationship, but you still have only one wife at home or one husband at home. So I mean, it should not be up to the religious book to guide you and tell you what to do and what not to do, because this thing is very complicated. So they should keep it simple. I mean, civil marriage. So it just should be one man and one woman. So again, I mean, if you want to talk about reality, I mean, women should be the one that have multiple husbands, because women can have 7 times or 10 times of sex a day, but men can't have that many times, you know. So it just doesn't make sense for men to have so many wives, but it actually makes sense for women to have a lot of husbands. So you
Can
think
I
about
play
it. So,
devil's advocate here a little bit?
sure.
First, if you would have 4 wives and you apply today's divorce laws, that will probably ruin you, because isn't it that if she divorces you, she gets half the money or something like that, and you have to pay child support and all those things. So if you have 4 wives that divorce you, you will be ruined. But if you look at from it wasn't that funny, but it does. You can't bake it into today's laws. But if you think about it from a kind of evolutionary point of view, I think it kind of makes sense. Like, yes, it is possible for a woman to be I don't know what word I should use in order to but it is possible for her to have sex or be, like, so to speak, with multiple men, but she can only be fertilized by one man at a time.
Yeah, that's true. So there's a science on that. The world record for a woman bearing children is 43 by a Serbian, like a peasant somewhere in Russia or Serbia, wherever it is. Whereas a man recorded, some kind of sultan, he had about 950 children. So it's like ridiculous amount more, because obviously he can impregnate women all over the show. But like you say, a woman can only have a child once, give or take, every year, give or take.
Yeah, it's also like it's. Are you Asian, Tan? Where from? Are you kind of? Do you look like a typical Asian?
What do you mean typical Asian?
Like,
as in my
Japanese
belief, or
no, like Japanese or Chinese people?
I'm from Malaysia, but my heritage is from China. So yes, Malaysian.
Yeah,
Chinese.
yes. So then it's a very high likelihood that you actually are a descendant of Genghis Khan.
Okay, hang on. Before we go, guys, before we get into that, we'll get into that, and I want Tan to explain a little bit. Let's just get through the comments, otherwise we'll be sitting on the comments.
I just want to do 2 quick comments here. One thing is, you cannot cheat in Islam. because you are allowed to have as many concubines as you want. And the second thing is, I don't know if people are still aware of what happened with our Hamza Tsources, where he was caught in Ivy Madison in the database. He just said, well, I'm allowed to look for another wife. That's very easy. This is why he's allowed to go onto a dating site.
Oh, okay, so he did eventually admit it, because he was denying it all the time, and so you got him to admit it eventually. That's right, isn't it?
Okay, but it would be fun to, I just want to finish the thing about this, because I think there is tafsil about these things, both from an evolutionary point of view and a legal point of view.
Yeah, but I think ultimately the main focus is if you start a family, it's about the children. So man and woman, the parents, the husband and wife is secondary. So it's all about responsibility. Everyone has to take care of this problem. That's why we have this law. I mean, marriage is an invention by a human to create order out of all of this, because otherwise everyone will fuck everyone, and then we have plenty of children, and who's going to take ownership of all this problem? That's why we have marriage, and that's how I believe our marriage come to be, and that's why it doesn't make sense to have so many wife or husband. I mean, if you want to quit this relationship, you should quit it, but don't try to add in more, and then until eventually it explodes because nobody can take care of the problems anymore.
Okay, we can continue.
You never see it the other way around, is it? Like one woman with four husbands. It only works one way.
Nah, it actually, I think there have been such, or even there are such cultures. I think Tibet had that.
Oh, okay. So
And anyway,
there's a few exceptions.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on and get through all of these here. This was not a crazy comment. This was an excellent comment, as I put at the top here, which you might not be able to see. So this was commenting on Phil educating a couple of the Muslims here in Speaker's Corner. You could feel their panic growing as the conversation went on. At the start, they were still kind of curious, but that quickly changed. They realized that they confidently peddled apologetics was being utterly refuted. Well, I don't think they actually understood all of Phil's points on cosmology, judging from all the kinds of questions they were asking. Naturally, this resulted in constant interrupting, pointless gainsaying, and even derailing into solipsism, because when facts don't support your position, question the very nature of reality. They really tried every trick in the book to keep Phil from making his points, but it was futile. He didn't get triggered by their constant distractions and stayed laser focused on the issues. After his summary of their refutation of the Kalam, the debate was over. The fine-tuning argument was just the cherry on top, as Muhammad's thin intellectual resistance broke like a twig under Phil's mammoth foot. Expertise, I like that.
Yeah.
Although I'm sure they're already presenting these arguments to unsuspecting non-believers again. This guy's obviously a mind reader, or he knows what they're up to. Again, if they had never had this conversation, it was just extremely satisfying to watch. So,
I swear I did not write this.
No, I know you didn't, but I thought that was a very succinct and accurate summary, some well-worded summary of. But I did like the part with the Muhammad's thin intellectual resistance broke like a twig under Phil's mammoth foot of expertise. That was beautiful. Okay, that was
Actually, I think this is one of the fundamental problems with the Muslim preacher or debater at Speaker's Corner, or even in the whole world. Is like they pretend to be intellectual. They try to debate intellectually. They pretend, but the moment that they're on the losing ground, on the losing side, then they'll send in a lot of this Turk Islam or Muslim or like vouchers, surrounding people just to stop them from speaking out. Just keep throwing all this nonsense and different ideas. I mean, different topics, just going off topic, and just to prevent you from speaking out. That's how they do. They're not really there to speak honestly and then debate and have a real intellectual debate. If you actually watch most of the videos, I can't watch all of them, but I try to watch some of the videos online. And when I look at the videos from debate between the Muslim versus non-Muslim, most of the time you can see from the expression of this this Muslim, they don't actually understand what they're talking about. They actually do not understand. I would dare say that 90% of this Muslim bystander or observer, they don't really understand what are the intellectual debate, because even I myself can't understand everything. They're just standing there and they only look at the expression of the debater, and then they see, oh, is the Muslim debater winning? Does he look confident? Is he winning? Then they'll start cheering, Allah Akbar, or this kind of thing. Yeah. They just, they can't think for themselves. I mean, most of them, they just look at expression and then see, am my champion, is my champion winning for Islam? Yes? Okay, cheer, let's cheer. they don't really know what's the topic and all. Because a lot of time this topic, I mean, they talk about science and so on. I mean, I'm not qualified to understand all of that because I didn't really pay that much attention in my school, you know, about science subjects. So how can 90% of these people they actually, you know, pretend to understand everything? You can tell easily from their expression. They're just standing there, they don't know what's happening, and see who's winning. That's all for them. This is like a boxing match for them, you know, like a UFC, MMA for them. They don't really care what's the topic, what's the debate about. They just want to see, is Islam winning? Yes, then they cheer. That's it.
Yep, agreed. Absolutely. And I don't know if you guys have seen it. Yellow Pete Lol is in the chat himself. Welcome, Yellow Pete Lol. Has Rob crashed or dung dung?
Did I crash him?
Back in 1 sec.
Ah, he's on the phone. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
let me take the opportunity because
Sorry.
is it okay if I ask you a question? Is it okay if I ask, if you go to Speaker's Corner and you just talk to people, do you have any kind of ulterior motive, or do you have any kind of intention, or do you are you trying to achieve something, or is it just that you want to rile people up and just show reality?
Wow, that's a lot of questions.
No, one question.
Yeah. So, I mean, of course, I have a motive. Everyone has motive. If you have no motive, then you'll be lost. And then what are you doing there? So, everyone has agenda. That's real. You know, that's the real talk. And if you are you going to say you go to a Speaker's Corner without agenda? Maybe your agenda is learning. Maybe your agenda is to you know, to stir up some emotion or whatever. But my agenda is really, I mean, simple. I mean, I just don't like Islam. And so there's a lot of things going on about it. I don't want to share my life history. I'm not here to talk about myself. I mean, I don't want to talk about myself actually. So it's just that based on my life experience, and then at one point I just got fed up with how the world is going on, and even though I have a great job, you know, great career, I would say, but I just feel that I need to do something about this, you know, and then I just start doing it. So this wasn't part of my plan. I mean, Speaker's Corner was not part of my original plan as a tourist. And when I tell you I'm a tourist, I'm really a tourist. I'm not joking. So I was actually traveling somewhere around, and then I just got back to London by fate, or maybe it's by Allah's calling. I mean, maybe Allah sent me here. I don't know why. I couldn't get a visa somewhere. That's why I can't come to London. And then I found out about Speaker's Corner, and then I said, hey, this is a great platform for me to speak out. And for me, based on my personality, I just don't like bullshit. I'm anti-bullshit, and I'm actually an introvert. So I am an introvert.
Excuse me, you are what?
I am an introvert. I am a nerd. I'm a geek. I would call it not nerd. Nerd is smart. Geek is like someone just like have a specific hobby. So I'm a geek in my past life. I mean, previous life. And I don't really like to talk, and I just hate talking. Small talks. I don't like small talks. I don't like conversation because I'm not good at it, you know, making small talk with people. Maybe I can blame that on my few years of working experience in Germany. You know, if you talk about the stereotype with German, they don't like small talks in the elevators and so on. So for me, it's the same. I just don't like this small talk and conversations, but unfortunately, Islam has most of this bullshit, you know, writing all over the place. I mean, you look at the way they debate and talk to people, they always just read the books. And just chapter 1, blah, 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 chapter 2, blah, 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 blah. I'm not into those kind of things. I want to be straight to the point. What's the concept, you know, simple, I understand. But Islam just keep throwing a lot of text at you. It's like, that's why my personality just doesn't fit very well. It's not compatible with Islam, because the way they do it is like, they don't have any concept. They can't, how do they, just ask them one question, how do you implement Islam? They can't answer you because they don't have that working model that they can show off. They can't even show you what is the working model of Islamic governance today. I mean, they can't. That's why I feel, I mean, I'm disgusted by this Muslim preacher, the way that they try to preach Islam is just so totally incompatible with my personality, because I just don't like people readings and filling in a lot of nonsense, words after words that, what do you mean? I mean, I can't get it, you know. Or you can blame I'm part of the millennials, you know, millennials, they always talk about the millennials that they don't read anymore. They just want, you know, something that is easy, short. That's why they are so into the social media, like Twitter, 140 text, or Facebook. They don't really read anymore. So I come from that somehow. I'm not really 100% millennials. I could be called Generation X, maybe. somehow. I'm not sure, but yeah. So I'm in between millennial and Generation X. That's why I want to read. I know the advantage of reading, but I just don't like filling in a lot of placeholder just to make you sound smart. I mean, if you look at Qur'an, I mean, I force myself to read Qur'an. You know, I actually force myself, and I feel terrible after reading it. It's like nonsense.
Me too.
It's just wasting my time. It's just wasting my time. What is the concept? I can't get the concept. I mean, they can't tell you anything. So that's why it's like a lot of this. So this is one of the reasons why I go to Speaker's Corner now to speak out against Islam, because this is one of the reasons. It's just not. It won't fit well in my life. Yeah, it's like totally against me. It's like if I become Muslim today, I'll be like lying to myself and say, Tan, don't be yourself, be a Muslim. And you know how that's gonna go. It's just gonna kill me eventually. So
I had the same thought when I read the Quran as well. It was very hard. It was like feeling like a prison in my mind. I want to get through the comments first, so we'll keep the comment and then we'll have a full-on conversation. Otherwise, these will be up on screen the whole time. So let me quickly get through these. Here's another one. This is Muhammad Hijab. Obviously, lots of people think he's wonderful. Brilliant. The deep knowledge is awesome. In contrast to the previous comment, of course, this deep knowledge is awesome. Mr. Hijab is a great thinker and doesn't use his knowledge to suppress others, but brings out fruitful discussions. Well done. So obviously, you have a dichotomy there between this comment and the previous one. So, by the way, before we go into this one, the Muslim that was going to come on here, Kenny Bowmer, sent me a message saying that he had a serious family tragedy, and which is why he could not come on the show. So I want to make that clear up front. I did say to him, that's a shame, and I wish him the best. I don't wish bad generally on almost anybody, and certainly not on family members. So I hope other people would join me in saying if there's a family tragedy, we wish them the best, even if it's a Muslim, even if we totally disagree with somebody. We can, because I'm going to read a comment now, which we can comment on. But I want to make it clear that was the reason that he had a family tragedy. So I personally, wish that his family gets healed and whatever the case is, and hopefully he'll come on again at some point. Then we can have a passionate and rousing discussion. But I think when it's family and so forth, I wouldn't want that to happen to mine, and I wouldn't want it to happen to other people. So with that said, that's the reason why he's not on.
It is a family tragedy, and not that he caught his ball in a zipper or something like that.
Well, I'm going to take him at his word. I don't know him. Other people have got views on him. I'm going to reserve my judgment until I've had the conversation. But that's the case. So I'm taking him at his word. There's a serious family tragedy, and for me,
well, it is a serious family tragedy.
Well, I'm assuming he's traveling or something like that. So I'm assuming he's going to somebody or whatever the case is. So
sorry.
That's okay. You're entitled to your view on it. But that's the reason. And the reason I'm saying that is because now I'm going to read a comment that he posted on the Jinn&Tonic show, a couple of days ago prior to coming on here. So obviously, when he does come on, we can challenge him. So here goes.
Can I make a comment on the previous pictures? If that's possible. I think this is this one. This is one of the reason. I think the Muslim community at the Speaker's Corner they are panicking now. They're worried because they are surrounded by people like this. This is what I call yes men. They are like just surrounded. There's what do you call it? There's an English term for this circle jerk. What is it? So they're surrounded by yes men. So it's like whatever you do, they say, yeah, you're doing well. It's like, I mean, that's when you become the least resourceful because you don't have people that can help you to improve yourself, because you're basically just surrounded by yes men. Everyone have the same opinion. Allah Akbar, God is great, Islam is the perfect, and that's when you stop learning, and then you can't move forward. I mean, if you just look at history, every civilization that have trouble having this balance of view in their governance, whether it's back then in the Chinese emperor back then, when they're surrounded by yes men, that's when the downfall begins. So I'm saying because of this, Islam is not going to get far. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. All right, let's move on to this comment here. So this is from Kenny Bowman, the Muslim that was going to join us tonight. The things that are said in this video, and when he says this video, I think he's referring to last week's video, last week's show, or the week before, one of the two. But I think it was last week's show, or the show at least with the two Abdullahs on. I think that was the one. The things I said in this video are so beyond ignorant that I'm at a loss for words as to where to start. I'm trying to find the words to express how atrocious the reading comprehension levels of these three characters are without being rude about it. Listening to this made me truly realize that there are those who are bent on attacking without possessing actual knowledge about what it's like, what it is they are talking about. It is truly disgusting, to be honest. I am flabbergasted by the inability to comprehend, as well as their obvious lack of interest in actually studying the topic. None of them even knew who Abdullah Yusuf Ali is, yet they are questioning his interpretation of the verses as if he was just some Joe Blow off the street attempting to explain verses in the Quran. Laugh out loud. This is the type of nonsense one would expect to hear while listening to three people attempting to explain brain surgery because they were reading some medical books but have not actually studied medicine. Yet they talk as though they are surgeons themselves. LOL. I mean, seriously, this is so wow. It's comical and pathetic at the same time. Sickening, unbelievable. Are you kidding me? So I think he's made his views on whoever was speaking at that time. I don't know, it was me or Stops or combination of, or the two Abdullahs. Who knows?
Yeah, but it shows how childish he is.
But that's his view. So if he does come on, then I will challenge him to defend that view. Because obviously you can make your own, you can have your own opinion, but as Stops and I was saying before the show started, we don't care about opinions per se. What we do care about is why people think or have those opinions. You can have your opinion, that's fine, but don't present it as if it's something that we need to pay attention to unless you're going to give us reasons why you believe it. If you're just going to have an opinion, well, great, good. But we'll move on.
Right. By the way, everyone is entitled to their opinion as well. Anyway, they don't have to be expert to give an opinion. Otherwise, we'll stop talking. I mean, I read the newspaper. I'm not a politician, so I can't make any comments about the politics. So we are none of us are expert in everything, but we still can make comments, right? Otherwise, how do we talk about anything? We can stop selling newspaper. I mean, we are not expert in this. We're not expert in that.
Comments.
Yeah.
But when somebody gives an opinion and they don't give any reasons why, and they don't want to, if they don't want to, then for me, I just dismiss it as an unsubstantiated opinion, unless I already know that it's true, in which case that's fine. But oftentimes that's not the case. Like, this is just a whole opinion piece here, which is fine. Now you can come on and at some point and defend it. Let's get through the last few here because these are all Tan. Here's all your ones, so you're welcome to. Tan is ridiculous. If he thinks Britain first want him in this country, he's got something coming. Months after Trump's election, there was a woman telling a Chinese person, go back to China. She was white and it was Chinatown. Haters getting attention nowadays. Tan is a total troll. Why do Muslims give him the time? It's like ESPN and sports giving LeVar Ball, whoever that is, a mic with his two children that won't reach the NBA. So obviously there's some dislike for you there, Tan, which I'm sure you're not surprised by. You obviously get it in the park.
I'm not surprised. So I might as well keep the conspiracy ball rolling. So I'm going to show something for a moment. So this is me. I'm funded by Irish, actually. I'm not here for Britain first. I'm here for Ireland, Guinness. Guinness is one of the #1 beer manufacturer in Malaysia, in Southeast Asia. So yeah, I'm not here for Britain first. I'm here for Irish first. Yeah, Irish number one.
Okay, so you've told everybody.
At least you can't say that they don't have conspiracy balls.
I mean, they like conspiracy. They love it. So I'm going to give it to them,
All right, moving on. 10-2. Thank God.
But does it make you proud that you are probably the most hated person there at the moment?
I don't know. I mean, if you are being hated by a lot of people, I think you're on the right track to fix the problem, right? I mean, that's if everyone if you only want people to like you, I mean, you're not really doing anything, right?
What have you done to what did you do to become the most hated?
I don't know. Maybe they don't like to see themselves because
ask questions. He's just asking questions.
No, I know I'm acting silly, but the thing is, Muslims no, they are silly themselves by going to Speaker's Corner, by preaching Islam, by having imaginary friends, believing in the fairy tales. They can't see that themselves. They think that praying out in the public it's cool. But then when they see me doing the same, they say I'm crazy. So I am like their mirror. If they hate me, that means they're hating themselves, So fair game to me. I mean, I see that as a fair game. So what's wrong? I like it. I'm enjoying it. I'm going to keep doing that. So peace.
Yeah. So some wise person once said, if you sit on the fence, you'll never take a side. You take a side and you go with it. You'll always have your haters, but at least you'll stand for something. Otherwise, you fall for anything.
Right.
So, you know, you'll always have your haters. You've got a few fans in the chat there as well. So there's some people who really like you in the chat. So there you go. You always have that sort of dichotomy, especially on these sort of, in inverted commas, what's the word? When things are not smooth, it's just gone out. It starts with a C. It's gone out of my head now. Controversial subjects like these, then you know, you're always going to get that. Let's get through the last few. Here's another violent one. We all get this. Thank God he doesn't come back to Malaysia. If he does, I'll punch him hard in the face. Misa, don't need this communist. So
Are you Buddhist, Tan?
Used to be. I used to be. I actually went to a Buddhist camp for 2 weeks when I was like 10 years old.
Which tradition?
I've been to Taoism, Buddhism. I have a Christian family.
Which tradition in Buddhism?
Which tradition?
Like
so
Theravada or Zen?
I don't even know. It's a Chinese one, so probably Chan Buddhism or maybe I don't even know. You know. Yeah. There's so many different sects of Buddhism, so who knows? You know. I'm a free thinker now, so I'm no longer Buddhist, I would say.
Another comment in the chat there for you, Tan. Answer, you may have met him at Speaker's Corner, I'm not sure. He's also sort of quite blunt in his critique of Islam, which is all good. He says, what did he say here? I just want to make sure I quote it correctly.
I am officially making Tan an honorary god of atheism.
There we go.
No, that's against my idea. I mean, I can't be God. I mean, no.
I know.
Yeah,
it's just.
But again,
this is very tongue-in-cheek.
Yes.
What?
No,
Yeah,
he's joking. In other words, he respects you, but he's just making a joke. Yeah.
Yeah, I get it. But I'd rather be surrounded by people who has different opinion than me, so then I can be resourceful. If I'm surrounded by yes men like the Muslim community, I won't achieve anything. That's why I'm pretty confident with what I'm doing now, because I know there are people that are very resourceful. They held on to their firm opinion, and that's going to be useful to me. But by going back to this comment, I think I don't even have to do anything to prove my point. I mean, just look at that. This is the majority of the Muslim in Malaysia that threaten people, and the moment you bring up anything against Islam, they will look at your skin color, and then they will associate you with whatever that could belongs to you. So that when they look at black people, they say, "Oh, you see the white people enslave you." Blah blah blah. When they look at me in my yellow skin, they'll say, "Oh, you're communist." You can't talk about anything politics. I'm a communist. Automatically, I'm communist. Even though we have a perfect example in Singapore where they run through, I mean, a republic, not 100% democracy. It's like a republic and zero element of communism, and still they want to brand me as communist. I mean, all Chinese and communists because to them, Muslim, they don't try to solve problems. That's I don't know. Is it teaching, or is it because of their DNA or genetic? I mean, I don't know why they just try to mix everything together, blend in racism with Islam and everything. Then they can't talk about anything at all. I mean, that's why it's in Malaysia. I mean, or in majority of the Muslim country, whatever you do is not merit based. Merit as in MERIT. Yeah, everything is about skin color. Everything is about ideology, or everything is about religion. It doesn't matter if you can do a good job or not. If you've done a great job, if you're not Muslim, you can't do it.
Were you born into a Buddhist or Muslim family?
I was born into a superstitious Taoism
Taoism
family.
Okay.
It's a superstitious one, not the philosophy one.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see.
Cool. Okay. We'll leave the comments there for now. So, Tam, maybe you can start off by just sharing, because obviously we've heard you've been chatting for a little while. Maybe you could just share a little bit about yourself to whatever degree you want to. And then you did mention a few topics which I've got here that we can discuss. And if you've got questions in the chat, or if you are a Muslim or a non-Muslim that wants to join us in the show, let us know in the chat. You need to friend me on Facebook so I can send you the link. I'm not sending the link publicly on the chat because we get trolls into the show that try to shut the show down. So we won't be doing that. But if you've got questions, please post them in the chat and we'll put them to Tan and he can answer them. So Tan, over to you. Just share a little bit about yourself and whatever little bits you feel, and what sort of, particularly how you've encountered Islam in Malaysia and elsewhere.
Okay. I'll try to be brief about myself. I don't want to talk about myself, and I don't want to listen to my voice only. So yeah. Basically, I come from Malaysia and grew up in a very Muslim country where you go to school every week. Monday you have to go to assembly point where you have to listen to Islamic prayer. And in the school, when you read the books, curriculum, they will try to force in this element of Islam, and the way they force it in is kind of intimidation. So it's like you can't question. I mean, to me, learning history is about being very as objective as possible. History is not about date. It's not about just remembering the event, but the way they implement this curriculum is why a lot of I would say majority of the minority in Malaysia are having this opposing or disgusted feeling towards Islam, the way they implement it. So that's why I mean that's how I came to be. You know, for 30 years I've been being pressured or forced into this this current state of me speaking out against Islam, and I'm fully committed to that. So 30 years of suppression mentally, because if you this is already happening in London, by the way, but in Malaysia, everywhere you go, every neighborhood, there will be one masjid, a mosque, where they put on a loudspeaker and they pray 5 times a day, and they play out on the loudspeaker to everyone here in the neighborhood. Every day, every single day, I have to listen to Muslim prayer, even though it sounds disgusting. I mean, it's so difficult. It's so yeah. Thank you for showing that, demonstrating that. So it's so disgusting. It doesn't even sound nice, but it's like as if they don't have mirror. They don't have self-awareness. It's like I don't know why. It's like Muslims do not have self-awareness. If I try to sing, I can't sing, by the way. If I try to sing and I put it on a loudspeaker 5 times a day and for everyone to listen, I know I'm tormenting all of you. I know I'm killing you, all of you, slowly. But to them, it's like they think this is great. It's like going back. It's like communist propaganda. You know how the communists in the 80s, in the 80s, they put on loudspeakers, playing the propaganda, and pray to Mao Zedong or whatever. Or even now in North Korea, you see, Islam is like communists just accept that one is religion, one is not religion, but communism is towards science. So all of this is like piecing together, and then in 1998, when I was reading the newspaper, I heard in 1998 there was this economic crisis, and then in Indonesia, my neighboring country, they start blaming the minority, the Chinese native, and then say, oh, they are the one causing it, and then they start killing and raping the Chinese there, even though the Chinese in Indonesia has assimilated with the Indonesia community 100%. They don't even have a Chinese name. They can't even speak Chinese. They only speak Indonesian, yet they get blamed because of skin color, because of they have a lot of exposure in the business sector. But they blame them, and then they kill them, and then they slaughter them and rape them. And I saw that when I was like, I think 19 years old, and that was disgusting to me. And we're saying this is how Muslims behave. They just keep blaming and blaming and blaming. And now fast forward today, when you look at Indonesia, after they blame, they don't have a solution. If you look at Germany, after Hitler blamed the Jew, at least they have a plan. In the Indonesian, in Muslim, they just blame and blame. They don't have a solution afterwards. They just keep blaming. And now after they kill the Chinese and nobody invests there, nobody build up the economy there, looks what happened. Extreme Islam take over now. And then what happened is just they're still suffering now. Look at Indonesia. They have this moral officer going around catching people who try to have sex or have a boyfriend, girlfriend. It's like, where is the Muslim priority? Sex or uplifting the community, the whole country economically and so on. I mean, it's like they have lost the plot. You know, they don't know what they're doing. This Muslim, they just want to blame, and then they just preach, and that's it. Whatever they come after doesn't matter. See, this is why I'm so against Islam, because it's a very poisonous ideology that it doesn't offer any solution. It just like it's like all about domination for them. That's why Islam is like it's a political tool for them. It's not really a religion. It's a warrior cult. If you look at it
but don't you know all religions are the same?
Yes,
they basically preach the same message.
More or less. But I would say,
I'm joking.
Today, what other religion do you have that still do the same? Only Islam is still doing that.
The difference between, it's like Sam Harris says, the difference between Buddhism and Islam is like comparing.
I would say Buddhism and Islam is very different. Because firstly, Buddhism doesn't even believe in a God. So how do you rally people? It's like the Four Noble Truth. I mean, your concept of Buddhism is like you can't even kill animal. And how do you rally people around under Buddhism? Even in Myanmar, it wasn't just Buddhist Myanmar. It wasn't Buddhist rallying the Buddhists. It was Buddhist rallying the whole people of Myanmar, the military. So you got to see the difference. It doesn't spread to other places in the world. That's a fundamental difference between Buddhism and Islam. But Islam is like everywhere you go, they have this they start from minority. When they're minority, they try to become victim and so on and so on. They slowly grow. And when they have the numbers, they start asking for trouble. Even in Myanmar, the troubles begins in Bangladesh. The Rohingya was burning the Buddhist temple. And then after that,
Yes.
and then now what happened? They lose because the Myanmar take actions trying to protect
Yes,
the country.
what they never teach, what they never say in like the newspaper and so on is like they don't go back to the conflict's root. Like
Sorry, I was eating. So that's one of the reason why. I mean, why is this pressure? I'm like a slow cooker. This pressure is building up in me since childhood, and the way they try to intimidate. I hate intimidations. Yeah, the way that they try to intimidate you from speaking against anything. I think it's just I would say Islam is against humanity. Yeah, so that's why as there are more terrorist attacks that happen more often, and how many years we already have a terrorist attack, and it still has not been solved. And when you talk to Muslims, they just say, "Oh, blame the West, blame the West." They never look at themselves. They are always outwards, expression. They never talk about themselves. So,
Dan, can I ask a question about Malaysia specific?
Yeah, sure.
Is the effect, or can you feel the effect of the eastern areas of Malaysia, where it's more a fundamentalist, more conservative, let's say, flavor of Islam, whereas in KL itself, you have a more open version of Islam, where you even have female Islams, where you have women and men praying together and things like that. Do you feel the effect that slowly it is getting more conservative, or is it the other way around, that the rest of the country is getting more liberal?
So yes, I would say I can feel the effect of getting more conservative when you say East Peninsula Malaysia. So that's the stronghold of the PAS party, PAS, which is the Islamic party. I actually voted for them in the past. So I'm like the left wing of Western society. I actually vote the oppositions, which composed of three parties. So one is DAP, and then what is it called? The other one, leading by Anwar. So there are three parties. So the one of them is the Islamic party. I actually vote for them, but they lost. They lost in 2000. I can't remember the date. Yeah. So they lost, and then once they lost, means they don't have the power, they don't have the money. Then they start rebel against the opposite within the party, because you see they're all about power. So the moment that they lose, they become more conservative. They know they don't have the money, they don't have the power. Then they become more conservative. Then they break away from the oppositions. So to them it's like it's very obvious that they're only into power. They're not really about Islam, not about spreading peace and love. So yes, I can feel the effect of conservative taking over in Malaysia. That's why I'm very worried. That's one of the reasons what pushed me to do this, because I can already see a live demonstration in Indonesia, and if the same thing happened in Malaysia, it's gone. Yeah, it's gone.
So what about all the followers of people like Joseph Smith?
Joseph Smith.
That was a good one, Joseph Smith. Joseph Prince, what is his effect now?
Joseph Prince, who's that?
The guy in Singapore.
The guy in Singapore. Joseph Prince.
He had this. He has his own TV channels, and he has this huge following in Malaysia. And
is it a kid?
Sorry?
What is it about? I mean, I'm not good with names. Maybe do you have a pictures or something like that?
He has this what is it, Daystar channel, and he's doing a lot of proselytizing in Malaysia, and this is why a lot of Malaysians said, well, you're not allowed to follow him.
Okay, when was this? I do not know.
No, because my brother, he used to be one of the donators. He used to be a platinum card holder.
Okay. I'm not aware of this, Joseph Smith. Maybe
Okay,
I'll
I was
look it
just
up.
wondering if this, okay, because I'm seeing now the effect in Malaysia where they are trying to oust all the other people who are thinking that we can have Christians, we can have Buddhists, we can have different religions here, which is what the case was 10 years ago when I was last there. But now this is changing.
Okay, so that sentiment, yes, that's changing. So they will say they're very peaceful. They'll have, but then you look at the last few years. I mean, they'll be trying to take down a cross from church. They actually raid the church, saying, "Oh, they are converting Muslim." You see, it's like the Muslim can convert other religion, but we cannot convert Muslim to other religion. It's like a one-way street for them. So there's no such thing as our religion. We are just being tolerance, and tolerance can only get you not can't get you far. You know, it's like at some point it's gonna blow up. And if you talk about Asian mentalities, we are less confrontational. So that's why this is all illusion that everything is working out. So if you send an uncover to the minority group in Malaysia and start giving them interview, giving them this assurance of anonymity, they will. I can guarantee you'll get the result of like nobody like Islam. You see, when you just look at all on internet comments, all of them is like, "Hey, I'm from Malaysia, I'm Muslim, and we are very good." They speak on behalf of the minority. They never pass the mic to the minority, asking them, "Do you feel all right?" They know the answer will be the other way around. That's why they only try to speak on behalf of minority, and they try to intimidate me. They say, "If you come back, I'm gonna kill you." See, this is exactly the point I'm proving here. So I can't even see any positive one. And the good one, the one that I actually spoke to before I came here, they won't be able to speak up because of this mob mentality that I brought up earlier. So they're afraid to speak out as well. So it's like minority. So they're trying to bully the world. I mean, wherever they go. So in Malaysia, it's the same. This sentiment is real. It's real, and they're trying to spread it over to Sabah Sarawak, which is the east, the Borneo. Yeah. So in Borneo, actually, the people actually are living in peace and harmony. But now they're trying to export this extreme Islamist headed by the Malay to that place, and I don't see how this is. I mean, this is heading nowhere. Everything is going downhill ever since this Islamists take over. So yes, I do not know who's Joseph Prince, but about the sentiment, yes,
I think Stops is going to show you now. So let me bring it up on screen there.
Yeah.
If I speak, you should see it. I'm sure you recognize the guy because he's very famous in Malaysia.
The scandal. This guy is in a scandal, right?
Yes.
Right.
He first raised the 19 million for the church, and yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he conned some money, yeah, so and get busted, right?
Yeah, but he's amazingly popular in Malaysia because he's a Christian, and this is why the Muslims hate him, and this is why he is the number one influencer in Malaysia, at least all the way, because it's only 300 kilometers, all the way into KL. And what is happening, this is what I heard, is that he is being shunned now, and they're trying to get him out of Malaysia.
Okay, but still, I mean, he was caught in a scandal and so on, but. Is he converting Muslim or what? What's happening?
Yes, this is the whole point. And whether he's in a scandal, do Malaysians care?
You're right. So it's not about a scandal; it's about converting, right? So that's why I'm saying that they're not sincere. It's like they only want to convert people to Islam, but they won't allow people to convert them out of Islam. And in Malaysia, that's the number one. The worst thing about this is if you're a Malay is a race, the primary race or the majority race in Malaysia. The moment they're born, they're Muslim. And they can't get out of Islam easily. That's the dangerous part. It's like you're born into slavery. you can't get out of it easily. You have a slave master, which is Allah. That's the dangerous part about Malaysia. And then they try to indoctrinate you with all this Islam teaching. We have so many religious schools. That's the problem I hate the most in Malaysia now. They are building more and more Islamic schools, which are not regulated. That's why there was this, I think 2 years ago, last year. There was this fire burning in East Peninsula, Malaysia. One of the Islamic religious schools burned down, and I think a lot of children died actually due to failure in safety regulation for fire prevention and so on. And yes, this is one of the events that showed that there are a lot of Islamic schools which are not regulated. Imagine that they are not regulated in Malaysia, Islamic school. So I can guess there will be a lot of terrorists in the training now. We did actually export some of terrorists out to Indonesia, Philippines, and so on. Like one of the bomber, we actually export one of the university teacher to Indonesia to teach them how to make bomb. So as you can see, there are so many Islamic schools that was not regulated in Malaysia, which was exposed after this fire incident. And imagine what will happen in 10 years time, 20 years time. We have so many Muslims graduate that can't do anything. They will be radicalized eventually. And the funny thing about that, after that fire incident happened, people were posting on Twitter saying, thank God they are now in heaven, and actually drew a comics of these children in heaven. That's like irony. I mean, why are you celebrating they're in heaven now? Because of human failure to build a proper school with a proper fire prevention and so on. It's like, this is why I find it so dumb. Yeah.
Okay, Jan, I want to ask you something before I forget. There's a comment in the chat. Were you on BBC TV recently? Were you silenced or just overlooked? Was there something about BBC TV? Somebody's asking.
I was not silenced actually. I was the first one to spoke out in the rehearsal. So the rehearsal question was asking who is the
Can you tell everybody what it's in relation to? Hang on a moment. Just tell everybody what it's in relation to, because none of us know about this except maybe this person who is commenting.
Okay. Yeah. So I went to the BBC big question a few weeks ago because there's this interesting question about is free speech under attack in the university, and the third question was did the West misunderstood Buddhism? So that's a question relevant to me. That's why I went there. So I was there. So before the live show, they actually have the rehearsal going on. So I was the first one to raise my hand when the host, the TV presenter, was asking the question, who is a Donald Trump supporter here? And I raised my hand. I spoke out again. I spoke about it with some points, valid points, I believe. Usually people, when you say you're a Donald Trump supporter, everyone just go boo, and when they curse you or something, but people are clapping hand there. So I don't see that as way of disagreeing with me, because I actually brought up some points. But when the show goes on live, I did raise my hand. I'm not sure whether he's trying to silence me or maybe he just do not want to use me yet. I don't know. Maybe he has an agenda, or I don't know. I mean, we have so many theories about BBC trying to silence free speech about Tommy Robinson and so on. But I don't think they're trying to silence me. It's just.
Is it still Nicky Campbell?
Is that his name? I'm not good in names. That's why when you talk about Joseph Prince, I don't know who is that, but I know the pictures.
I believe he's an atheist. If it's Nicky Campbell, he's an atheist, and he often does the big questions or whatever you call it, question time or whatever it is.
Yeah, I don't think he's trying to silence me anyway. But because when if you actually watch the show now, I think the points brought about everyone is quite fair and square, you know. So some of them already spoke the points which I agree with. I mean, if you are in the audience, if you agree with some of the points, you can clap your hand. So I don't think it's silence. I mean, it's difficult to be a moderator, you know, of a show. I really can't tell yet. So, but I do plan to go there when they have some interesting topic, you know. But who knows? Maybe he's trying to silence me. Or, I don't know. Yeah.
For other people who are interested, where do they find out about where to go for these BBC things? How do you find that out?
So I actually watched quite a lot of YouTube video, and which is one of the reasons where I learned it from, because I think it's one of the BBC big question where they asked the audience, a female Muslim, and she was the one that suggested we should close down all the mosques in London which are funded by Arab. So I actually borrowed her points, and from there I watched more videos, and then I said, okay, we can actually go there, and then okay, why not? You know, I'm a tourist. You know, I'm trying to experience some of these.
Where did you go? How did you find out about it? I mean,
how did you go to the website? Just go to the website and then, you know, do a research. We have internet now. We don't have to just read Qur'an, you know. You have Google everything, so you can just ask around or just search research online, and then I go to the website and I found about it, and I shoot an email to BBC One, and yeah, that's how I got there. So it was easy.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, maybe you can post the link if you've got it. If there is a YouTube video of that, then we can go and have a watch of that.
But only have an iPad here. I can't really multitask. I don't know how to multitask.
No, that's fine.
Yeah.
If it's on YouTube, we can just search for it. I guess. What is it? BBC Question Time or
BBC
something like that?
One Big Questions.
Big Questions.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, one of the guys actually came to Speaker's Corner as well from the BBC from the show last week. Yeah.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you intend to go down every week until you leave the UK, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I suppose, but it depends on the topics. I mean, if it's something about something irrelevant, then
no, sorry, I meant the Speaker's Corner. Sorry, I meant
Speaker's Corner. Sure, yeah.
Because I'm guessing there's nothing like that in Malaysia.
There are some, but it won't get far. I think they're trying to set up not a specific speakers corner. They actually tried experiment speakers corner last long time ago, but it doesn't work. Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't work anyway. Nobody would dare to speak out. You know, it would just be a one-sided argument.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean,
And it's very hot. It's
countries.
very hot in Malaysia. So who the hell wants to go out under the sun and speak? You know, everyone just gonna sweat.
Me.
You're a foreigner. Maybe that's why. I mean,
Yeah, but there's no too rich, there's no too healthy, and there's no too hot.
Yeah, but for Asian, if you go to Asia, when there's sunlight, they just bring out umbrella. It's a different thing over there.
Let me tell you, I was the only one in Bangkok riding around with open windows and the roof down. Can you believe it? Because my dad had a convertible there in Bangkok.
Yeah, I can see that. Man. That's why when foreigners come to UK, when there's snow, okay, they're gonna play around like idiots.
Question here for you, Tan. What does Tan think of Northeast Asian countries? Is it a safe haven? I'm not sure what he's referring to. Does Tan think that Northeast Asian countries, is it a safe haven? Is it like a safe place? I'm not sure what Northeast Asian countries he's referring to.
Maybe Vietnam.
I think he means Japan and Korea.
Yeah, Northeast Asian. So when he said Northeast, I was supposed, maybe it could be that region. You mean Japan, Vietnam, Cambodia, China, Taiwan?
No, Cambodia and Vietnam, they count as Southeast. I think you mean...
Yeah, we try to set up ASEAN.
Korea,
right,
Japan,
correct. So,
maybe China.
Yeah, safe haven, in the long term, I would say yes. So let's take Japan, for example. Can we all agree that Japanese are the most polite people on earth?
No,
fairly so.
Is the what?
Are the most polite people on earth. They just bow and just say.
I think the Thais beat them.
The Thai beats them.
Nah, I think actually.
But to me, it's like.
Okay.
I mean, anyway, but to me, the Japanese is like they're very polite. I mean, look at the earthquake that happened a few years ago, and after the earthquake, they still queue up, waiting for their food. But when you see the earthquake in America, when there's any crisis, everyone start destroying the shops.
Maybe. If you only count politeness, then yes, maybe.
Yeah, so that kind of politeness, and they don't try to speak out against politics so much. But recently, you can actually start seeing a lot of videos popping up from the Japan. Like one of my favorites is Nobita. He's a Japanese teacher. He actually starts speaking out against Islam, and he starts interviewing people in Japan from the street, and ask them what's their opinion about Muslim Islam, and they don't have a good actually have good impression about Islam and Muslim in general. In fact, he actually say, if you come to Japan, you wear hijab to work, and the employer asks you to take off the hijab, you have to respect that, because in Japanese culture, it's about respect and following the rules based. Yeah, so that's why they're saying you're not special. If the employer asks you to take off the hijab, you have to take off. So you see, Asian are not very confrontational, but even that Japan are doing this now, even though they don't import a lot of foreigners, it's not easy to get into Japan. So even if they are all speaking out against Islam as well, then what's going to happen, right? So they won't welcome so much of this Islamic or Muslim community. And in that case, yes, it will be a safe haven. But in Japan, they will have different problems like birth rate and so on. So they don't have sex anymore. But yeah, that's a different story. They have automation to balance up. I
think this birth rate thing is kind of overestimated. Because, the problem soon gonna be rather that like human labor won't be necessary anymore.
Yeah, I agree with that. Revolution is coming. If you look at the technology, change is coming. So that's what I'm saying.
There was a question for you. If what you are doing now in the UK is in any way going to affect your return to Malaysia, in security, safety-wise.
So number one. I'm not gonna share what's my plan that come after, yeah. So secondly, you don't have to worry about my safety and so on. I mean, if I do get back to Malaysia, if I die, that's me, yeah. So, but I won't share my plan. What's come after, yeah.
That's fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not all countries are as open as this.
I agree. Yeah.
So TDS Dave just posted a link to the to the BBC chat. So if you want to watch it, it's in the live chat. Oh, page not found.
Sorry if I get it. Like, did you have any ties to China as well? Have you lived in China or anything?
Me?
Yeah.
I traveled there for work in the past. I only went to Shanghai and it's a business plus pleasure. So I tour around in the outskirts of Shanghai, which is like a village, pretty cool. But I have not really spent a lot of time there. And so if I have any ties, what do you mean ties? Any political ties?
No. But if you worked there or something.
Yeah, I've been there for business trip and so on. And but I do know where's my ancestor supposedly from. I think it should be from the Hainan Island. By the way, one of the ex-prime minister, he's a mix between Malay and Chinese. I think his grandfather, which is from Hainan, my ancestor as well. So yeah, Badawi. I think Badawi is the name. Yeah.
Is he a Datuk?
Sorry?
Is he a Datuk?
He was our prime minister.
Yeah, but the problem is with the Chinese that they hate making them into the Datuks.
I mean, what do you mean hate making them? I mean, there are too many Datuks now. Even Michelle Yeoh, the Hollywood actress from Malaysia, by the way, from Ipoh too. She's also a Datuk. I mean, Datin. So, but then, I mean, what do you mean? There are too many Datuk that you can actually buy the title now. So.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I thought this was an honorary thing only for Malays because they had stupid rules when it comes to Malays only and the outing of the Chinese. This was like really heavy racism.
No. I mean, there are other titles, but actually, Datuk, almost everyone can be. I think even Jackie Chan is a Datuk now, if I'm not mistaken. But I mean, going back to the history about Datuk is like an honorable title, like
it was like
equivalent to Sir, Knight, yeah. So things like that. But going back, I mean, Datuk is also a god, a deity in Malaysia. That a lot of Chinese or Malay doesn't even really get it. Why? I mean, Datuk is actually the only Chinese deity or god that exists in Malaysia. You can't find it in China. That you can actually pray, worship Datuk. Go to temple, there will be Datuk there, or so on and things like that. And but to me, I can see that it's a form of respect. It's like paying respect because there's a lot of history going on in the past. So a diplomatic relationship between China and Malaysia back then. So that's why, for Chinese, it's like that when they worship ancestor, we thought, oh, this is superstitious and so on. But I think the fundamental point is you are supposed to remember your ancestor, your family roots. Yeah. So if you don't have this ceremony, then you will just forget about them. So I think that's how the cultural difference are shown. I mean, when they pray to Datuk, it's like paying respect to this land. Yeah. But that's a whole different story I can talk about, but I'm not going to share that today. Yeah. So
no, there's a much more interesting question.
Right.
What did Mohammed Tawheed say to you last week when off camera?
Off camera. So he followed me after. So after I left that talk, and he actually followed me and then tried to talk again, but then another Muslim just jumped in and tried to supposedly give in a different opinion. And then I just left, I don't even know what his point is. He's just like not satisfied with what I'm doing. He just want to keep pulling me in and in and in. So, but I'm glad that all of that happened. I mean, you don't have to agree with my method of doing things in Speaker's Corner, but I'm glad that thing was recorded and it just showed that he's one of those that is not sincere. He's there to win. He's all about camera. Him and the camera.
He's a thug. Well, I mean, he and his buddy Hamid, they're thugs. They've threatened other people. I mean,
Right.
You lose brain cells talking to them. So
That's
that's like scraping the bottom of the barrels. But again, it's the irony of them walking around thinking that they kind of own Speaker's Corner when they're the least educated, most psychologically low-level people basically there, and that's saying a lot because there's a number of other ones as you're well aware. So It's a waste of time. And as you say, you're a snake, you're this, that, and the other. But this clown, of course, doesn't know what irony is. Even if you could explain it to him and give him a roadmap, he wouldn't understand it. So my view on him, I tried to explain something to him once. He just laughed. I mean, it was way over his head. I tried to suggest to them that Sarah was a gift to them if they understood how to have a conversation and deal with him in a different way. This completely bypassed him. It's like a juvenile's mentality in a man's body, and he's not the only one, by the way, as you're well aware anyway. So yeah, don't waste your time. I mean, he's a loudmouth.
But I'm not wasting my time. But
brain cells to rub together.
I'm glad it showed that the way that works and all that. Like in this mob, they're just chanting, just chanting, yeah, blah blah blah, and they don't even know what they're talking about. Everyone just like the terrorists in the Middle East shooting an AK-47 to the air, and they say Allah Akbar. That's all they do. They just chant and shout, and they don't even know what they're doing.
Yeah. I mean, he would be right at home on the front line with ISIS. That's where he should be, really.
Yeah,
why is he bothering to come down to London?
Yeah, he actually pushed me at the time.
Allahu Akbar.
That's all I know.
Yeah, you could definitely see him with a scarf around his head and carrying an AK-47. So that's where he really should be. I mean, Speaker's Corner. That's like a child going to a cosmology conference. It's you're just out of place there.
But this is not funny. I mean, sorry to cut you off, but this is not funny. This is actually scary, and this is only a small sample in UK. I believe he's educated in UK, right? He's born here probably.
Yeah, he's educated.
But the point is. I mean, he's
using the word educated. Use that in inverted commas, but yes, I think.
I mean, even though he's educated here, he still behaves like people from Middle East. I mean, that's the scary part. That's the scary part. He's bought into that mentality, though. He's bought into that mentality. Yeah.
And he's got some, like you say, he's got some brain dead supporters who follow that. But actually, do you know what? It is actually good that he speaks. I don't want to prevent him from speaking. He's the best anti-dawah advert you could ever get. Anybody that's even remotely considering Islam and as a reasonable person, and some of them are not, obviously, he's undoing all the work that the apologists are doing there. So they all going there, hey, don't do dawah. And then you hear this radical ISIS type person carry on, and you go, anybody would run a mile from that. So he's working against his own people. They just don't realize it. Or if they do,
that's why I'm really happy, that happened and it was recorded on the camera, because the focus is not on me. I'm a silly person anyway. Whichever side you're on, it doesn't matter. It's my method. You don't have to agree with my method, but these people they're working against themselves. They don't even know it. So all this celebrity from Dawah team is all nonsense, and like Hijab, Ali Dawah, Hamza, all these people are just nonsense anyway.
I mean, they provide entertainment, but education is very short supply.
That's the problem with Islam. I mean, I have this short conversation with Hamza, and he was trying to preach, and then when I try to ask him to show how do you implement Islam by when he asked me what's my argument, I point my argument to a rubbish on the floor, and he looked at the rubbish on the floor and he just walked away. I don't know whether he's conscious about it or subconsciously he's don't care about rubbish. I mean, if your religion can teach you to be a decent human being, to do simple things, if you can't even take care of simple rubbish, how can you talk about solving the humanity problem and so on?
I looked at his eyes. He did not understand what you were on about. He really, at this level, he doesn't understand it.
He doesn't care anyway. That's why when I point my finger on the rubbish on the floor, he doesn't care. He just walk away. And if he is so high and noble that he can't even take care of a simple problem like rubbish, on the floor. I mean, it doesn't matter if I point at it or not. If he is aware of a rubbish and his behavior, I mean, his habit, if he has a habit of taking care of his surroundings, his environment, then he will automatically know, oh, I'm trying to talk about the rubbish on the floor. But he doesn't care. There's a cup on the floor. He doesn't care. He thought I'm making fun of him. I mean, he just walked away. So
but the funny thing is, Hijab will go on about how green Islam is.
They're just talking. That's why on the camera, when it's off the camera, they don't care. That's the problem of Islam. Is all about theory. I mean, allegedly theory. They can't implement. So we can see this perfect example from Tawhid. I mean, this mob. They're just chanting and shouting. Like this is like warrior cult. I mean, are we fighting here? It's like it's a turf war. The last I checked, this is Speaker's Corner. We're not having turf war. You want to have turf war? Maybe go to Chinatown, have some Chinese fight with a Muslim gang or whatever, or a black gangster come here, take the guns that way and try to shoot some people down. I mean, this is Speaker's Corner, for God's sake. I mean, why the hell you treat this like a turf war that we have to try to win and bring in more people to join you on your side like a gang, What's the point
is that, especially this Tawheed guy, I made a video where I exposed him quite badly, and this is one of my most popular videos. So, it's also the videos where I am getting the most private messages from the people. You're an asshole. You don't know what you're talking about. You're just jealous. You have no clue. It's amazing.
Yeah. and they're just gonna agree with each other. You just go to the video, all the Muslims,
Yeah,
all the
yeah,
Muslims will have
exactly.
the same answer. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
thank you for taking. You did a great job. What the hell, man? Obviously, he's adding like a retarded, but people just and the Muslims are still saying he's done well. See, this is like a robot. They're right, robot. I can't think they're like zombies. You know, that's why I'm so fed up, man. When I'm surrounded by Muslims back in Malaysia, and I know that problem's gonna spread everywhere, and now it's coming to London, in UK, and the whole Western society. But luckily, people are waking up. So
That's why I think
Yeah.
it's good what you are doing, how you are doing, even if you say you're just a small little thing, but you are really, really like the cat amongst the pigeons.
yeah, I mean, this is the point that they fail to see. I'm consistently just one person, you know. I'm consistently just one person. So if you disagree with me, you can call me silly, but I'm still one person being silly, solo. But to them, they have this whole machinery that come to the speaker's corner in the whole world. All of them are acting silly. They don't even know. Because they're surrounded by yes men. Everyone just say, "Yo, we're doing great. We're doing great." All the Muslims are surrounded saying doing great, but they don't dare. They are afraid to ask a non-Muslim what do they think about Muslim. They are
Yes.
afraid.
And you know what Sarah did? Sarah caught them, and this is what made them, I think, really mad. He says, "Yes, I go and meditate, and I confer with my ancestors." And they say, "What?" He says, "Yes, I am just as crazy as you are."
Okay. Yeah, it's like I don't know. It's like they want self-awareness. That's the problem. I don't know. I can't even understand. I can't even get it their brain. I mean,
Yeah, well, the thing is, they price quantity over quality. You know, you can have one right person and everybody else is wrong, but they think because there's more of them, therefore they somehow, you know, more likely to be true. It's like I always say, you know, one candle can hold back all the darkness in the world. So hopefully we're all in some way a candle, and you know, you just keep lighting candles and the darkness will retreat. But even if the candles snuff out, as long as there's one, you know, all the darkness.
That's why they need a lot. They need some Zen thinking, you know. I mean,
you should change your
rising
icon.
numbers.
You should change your icon, because it's like it's the dark side versus the Jedi Knights in some respects. So you know, there's some Jedi masters maybe a bit more like Stops, and then there's some of us a bit more like a Padawan. But you know, but then you've got that. So you've actually got almost like the wrong icon there, I would say.
I don't think so. I mean, if you watch the latest Star Wars: The Last Jedi, I mean, the good one actually trained the bad one. So like Kylo Ren was trained by Jedi. So
it's the wrong icon you have.
No, I don't care. I mean, I don't care. I mean, if you watch The Last Jedi, actually Kylo Ren tried to work with Rey. So the dark side and the what do you call the good side try to work together to fight the Sith Lord or something. I don't know the names, but yeah, my icon doesn't matter. It's just that, I mean,
yeah, no,
something. I mean, something is off about this Muslim. I don't know why this is. It's like as if we can remove IQ test. You know, we just have to replace IQ test with religion. So the one that take up Islam are most likely stupid. You know, I'm not trying to make this up. I'm trying to provoke or something. It's just if you look at Islam is like the quick rise in numbers doesn't mean anything. It's like, oh, the numbers of crime is increasing. We're doing great. The crime of drug abuse is increasing. It doesn't mean anything. I mean, Islam is like drugs. You know, drugs abuse. It's like people that look up to Islam is like, I think they're lost their mind. You know, it's almost like a drug addict. That's the way I see it. So the numbers mean nothing. The numbers mean nothing. So I see
cool.
that
Well, I want to just welcome in Anza and TJ. They are regular panelists that join us as well. Tanwa, I want to move on because you did actually post a few things that you wanted to talk about, which I think is quite interesting. So one of the things you wanted to talk about is the lack of objectivity in Islam. Maybe you can share with us what you mean by that, and then we can talk about that.
So yeah, I already somehow brought up some of the points about objectivity, which are lacking in Muslim communities. Like it's one-sided view for them. It's always about Islam. So for example, let's take the halal diet for example. They don't look at it objectively. They only talk about themselves. Like, hey, we are Muslim. You have to respect us. So halal diet, they try to force it in slowly to the school system in the UK already, by the way. In Malaysia, it's everywhere. So they never think about what if my belief is I don't like halal diet because the way they slaughter animals are cruel. So why is it okay for your belief but not for my belief? See, they don't have this objective view. It's always we have to succumb to their demand. So when I say the lack of objectivity is they don't look at history or any kind of event or matters objectively. It's like they look at it as there's a good and bad. Yeah, there's a good and bad. That's not how the world works, you know. There's no pure good and there's no pure evil. It's not black. It's not just black and white in the world. Nothing is black and white. That's why I always try to. When I was in Speaker's Corner, when I spoke to some of the ex-Muslim or non-Muslim, I talk about it. It's like I think Muslims are lacking this simple concept about Zen, you know, or Buddhism, Chan Buddhism or Zen Buddhism, which is the same thing, by the way. Anyway, so let me bring up this story about this Zen story. Yeah. So in this Zen story, it would actually teach you about objective. How do you look at things objectively? Yeah. So there's this story which brought up by Alan Watts. I think he's a British. He traveled around Asia, and then he took this story and tried to spread it in the West. So he talked about this story like in the long time ago. There's this farmer in China. He has a horse. So one day the horse ran away, and all the neighbors just come surrounded him and saying, "Oh, that's so bad. I mean, what a pity." And then the farmer replies, "Maybe." And then the next day, you probably heard this story anyway. So the next day, the horse came back and brought back 3 wild horses. And then the neighbor come surrounded him again and saying, "Wow, this is wonderful news." Yeah. And then the farmer replies, "Maybe." And then day after, his son tried to ride on one of the wild horses, the untamed horse, and he fell down and broke his leg. Yeah. So now the neighbors come again and say, "Wow, oh, that's terrible. Wow, this is terrible." And then the farmer replies saying, "Maybe." And the next day, the Chinese soldiers try to come over to his place and try to recruit soldiers. And fortunately, his son broke his leg, so he's not qualified. He can't be a soldier, so they let him pass. So he did not enlist to be a soldier. So and then now all the neighbors comes around the farmer and say, "Wow, this is good news. Your son don't have to go to war." And then the farmer reply, "Maybe." So if you look at the way the farmer replies, it's like there's no good news or bad news. It's just a series of events. Yeah, it's just a series of events. When you can have a look at everything as a series of events, then you will be able to look at things objectively. And when you are able to look at things objectively, you will be very resourceful because everything is just something for you to use, something for you to learn. You're always learning. To Islam, it's not the case. If one day Islam take over China, they will come up with a new Zen story called the Islamic Zen story. So I'm going to rephrase the whole story. So one day, the farmer, there's one Muslim farmer in China, and one of the horse ran away, and the neighbors surround him and say, it must be the Jew who stole the horse, yeah? And the farmer say, "Yeah, it must be the Jew. Damn the Jew." And the next day, the horse came back and brought back 3 wild horses. And then the neighbors surround the farmer and say, "Allah Akbar, Allah Akbar." And then the farmer said, "Yeah, Allah Akbar, Inshallah, Mashallah, whatever." And day after, yeah, and his son tried to ride the horse and broke his leg. Now the neighbors surround him and say, "This horse must be funded by CIA, must be funded by the West. That's why they try to kill your son." And then the farmer say, "It must be, yeah, damn the West, fuck the West, yeah." And then the next day, I don't want to keep going, you know, you get the point, right? They're always in this eternal victim mentality. They will just keep blaming. That's why you look at the Qur'an, they're so racist, the books. I mean, if you're a religion, your book, you should not point out a specific race, you know, it should be neutral. It should be neutral. Yeah.
That story was epic.
Yeah, I don't want to continue, but you get the point. They're just blaming. They don't have this objective view.
Fan, so I've heard that story, and your
your
twist on it was funny.
Yeah, that's the Muslim version of Zen story. I mean, that's why I'm saying they lack this Zen. So that's why it's like they don't have wisdom. You know, without wisdom, you don't have this self-awareness. You can't solve any problem anymore. Then you can't be objective about anything. That's why you just look at them. It's always about they are the victim, you are the oppressor. Everywhere they go, even when they're minority, they are victim. When they're majority in Malaysia, in Indonesia, they are the victim. What the hell, man? You're majority. You are the majority. You're still victim. What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? When you're majority, you are still victim. They can't think for themselves. They don't ask the honest question like, why we are the majority? Why are we the victim? So everywhere they go, they just keep blaming. They don't have this objective view about the world, event, and so on. That's why they remain backwards forever, because this book is rubbish. The whole Quran is rubbish. Yeah. So objective. I mean, that's the first thing we need to be. I mean, to unlock the wisdom in your mind. I mean, without the wisdom, if you can't be objective about anything, then you can't learn. That's why that's the problem with the world today. Not just Muslim, even the extreme left wing today. They look at history as like a moral book. It's like they look at the book, they look at the date, they remember the date, the event. That's it. They don't try to understand why this event happened. You see, they don't try to apply this like the Zen story I talked about earlier about the horse, the farmer, to analyze history. They just look at the event. Oh, Hitler did this. He's a bad guy. Germany is a bad guy. They don't try to understand what is leading up to this event, because they don't ask the question like, hey, how come World War I happened without Hitler anyway? So what's really causing this problem? They don't ask those kind of questions. They're just reading history as moral guide book, like how people read Qur'an. So that's a problem. That's
well,
when
they think it's objective, though, but they think it's objective. They think they've got an objective book with objective truths sent down from a creator. So obviously they will deny what you say and go, hey, no, we've got a book, Allah sent it to Muhammad and it's been perfectly recorded. And so that's all objective. And the rest of you guys are just going on your personal opinions.
Whatever. I don't trust a guy who heard some voice in the cave, yeah? If I tell them the same thing today, they won't believe in me. And they're the one that keep telling me, the one in Speaker's Corner, they keep telling me, don't believe the fake news that are making a bad news about Muslim. But I mean, if you don't trust the fake news today, then how can you trust a book that was written by some, I don't know what the fuck it is, written a book a long time ago, and then you say this is the truth? And what's the truth? How do you prove this is actually from the God? They can't prove it. They just use theory. I mean, it's just all bullshit. If you can't even believe anything today, how can you believe things that was wrote a long time ago? It will be modified. It's also obvious it's created by human. I mean, come on, just use common sense. A guy sitting in a cave heard some voice. That's the kind of guy that was in the mental asylum today, yeah? Having imaginary friend.
Yeah. I mean, if that happened today and anybody claimed that, yes, we'd section them. But because somebody heard it 1,400 years ago, somehow that makes it more credible.
Yeah. And yeah. But I know a lot of them actually knows this, but they refuse to let it go because they look at religion, Islam, as their culture. They look at it as a culture. They want to defend it. They want to defend this culture. That's when problem comes. That's why we have a lot of wars based on religion.
I want to bring in.
Yeah.
Sorry, Dan. I want to bring in Answer here because he's an ex-Muslim, so he's very much like yourself, who's quite passionate about it. Answer, if you're there, maybe you can share a little bit because obviously, Dan, you've now got an ex-Muslim that's in the chat here that you can speak to. You've probably met him, I guess. Have you guys met in Speaker's Corner?
Maybe I met a lot of guys, but I'm not good with names, so pardon me if I don't remember the names.
Yeah, I think briefly, maybe just like for 1 or 2 minutes. Didn't really get to have a chat. There was quite a few people around, but yeah, I definitely made a point to come and say hello to Tan once I saw his first video.
Yeah.
Hi. Yeah.
Cool. So the other thing you wanted to talk about was the mob mentality, which you've kind of covered, but maybe you can. Are you referring to Speaker's Corner, which is obviously one place, or you're just referring in general to the mob mentality of Muslims?
So yeah, this has already been covered just now through our conversation, but that's the scary part. If you already look at Speaker's Corner in UK, in the United Kingdom, and most of these Muslims are actually educated here, but somehow they still have this roots tying back to the mob mentality in Middle East or even Malaysia or Indonesia or the whole Asia. That's troublesome. Is it not crazy? It looks like this is not right, you know. If you can see this same behavior already happening in Speaker's Corner, imagine what will happen if this whole thing was actually spread all over the world, invisible, hidden under each corner of the community, having this kind of people. And not just about non-Muslim, the Muslim among this group, they can't even speak out against anything. The moment they try to have a different opinion, they will be surrounded by people and try to silence him, saying you can't do this, you can't. That's why Muslim is so difficult for Muslims to leave Islam unless they are willing to be bold and cut ties with all their friends and family. So you see, it's like trying to leave. It's like you see, for Muslims trying to leave Islam is like trying to go on a journey there's no turning back. It's like I have to forget about everyone to leave Islam. That's how crazy it is. That's why even for their marriage and the Sharia law and things like that, for women to leave their husband is not easy. They will send this imam, all this so-called Muslim specialist, scholar, whatever imam to try to talk you out of doing that. You know, this is what I call the mob mentality. They try to pressure you, intimidate you. Yeah, even the Mahmoud guy tried to do the same thing to me. I try to speak something, and then he tried to intimidate me. It doesn't work. I don't give a shit. So they try to intimidate people from speaking out against Islam. That's why you can see they're spending so much energy in silencing different opinion about Islam, but they don't spend the same energy into countering extremism, countering terrorism, trying to fix their own problem. You can tell based on all the simulation, I call it simulation in Speaker's Corner, and you can see what is their priority. They are willing to come to Speaker's Corner to speak out against me, but they're not willing to go out and speak out against Islam, about terrorists and all the extremists, and how flawed is the system of Islam today, with the Sharia Council, with the mosque, the way mosque works. Yeah, you can see the priority. Defending the name of Islam is more important than human's life. Let's put it that way. Yeah, I can actually talk a lot more about the Ali Dawah drama, but I don't want to talk about that today. Yeah, but there's so much going on there. You can tell their priority. They don't care about human life. To them, protecting the name of Allah is more important, which they fail to see is like, this is the reason why Islam is useless, is fake, because if there's a real God, the God don't need you to defend him. God is almighty. Why does he need you to defend his name? But yet this Muslim want to protect the name of Allah, their religion.
Yes, that's always been inexplicable to me, how they can think that Muhammad is more dear to them than their mother and father. But we've got one of our semi-regular Muslims that's actually joined the chat now. His name is Marshall. I chat to him every so often in private chats as well. And he had a few comments that he wanted to share with you. So go ahead. You guys can have a conversation. Anybody can join in. So welcome, Marshall, to the line.
I've got a question for Chando.
Yeah, sure.
Go ahead.
Right, so Ton, you know what? Yeah, because I have seen you come to the park, so I want to know, what is your purpose? Is it to go to the park and make fun of the Muslims? I get, what is the purpose of you going there?
Okay. Is that the only question?
Yeah, just answer that one.
Okay, so my purpose, I actually already answered this question earlier. So I dislike Islam, and that's my purpose, and I'm trying to fix this problem. And when I said what I said in the Speaker's Corner, what I said specifically about the 1.6 billion to 1.6 million, that is real, and I'm going to do that. I'm going to fix the Islamic problem in the world. That's my purpose.
So your purpose of coming to the park is to show to the people that Islam is bullshit.
That's just one part of the method. One part of the. It's not everything. It's not everything.
But what is the point of making fun of the Muslims and Islam? Is it that doesn't sound moral? You get what I'm saying? So just going down and say, oh yeah, you Muslims are bad people, Islam is this, Islam is that, that doesn't make sense.
Why doesn't it make sense?
Because you just gotta let people believe whatever they want. Even if you don't agree with that, just let them do whatever they want.
Then why do they come to the Speaker's Corner and preach? If they come to preach, then they have to stand up to opposition view. And people make fun of Christian in Speaker's Corner anyway, and then no Christian has threatened anyone. But when it comes to Muslim, to Allah, you have to threaten and then silence the opposition view. If you don't want a different view, don't come to Speaker's Corner and preach. Easy.
No, but you're kind of being aggressive when you go there. Because I've seen the video. I've seen the videos.
I'm a one man.
Yeah, because they were shouting, calling the Muslims such names. That's not a good thing to do.
Unless I'm funded by the Chinese tribes, I'm just a one man show. I'm just
I get that.
And why do you think I'm aggressive? I'm the one that being surrounded by aggressive people, and I'm the one that get kicked by Muslim. Yeah, I'm the one that get kicked and punched by Muslim multiple times.
No problem. Say whatever you like about Islam. Say whatever you like about the Prophet. That's you. But I don't know why the Muslim, the so-called Sunni Muslim, they get triggered by somebody who is going against their belief. Because I'm a Muslim, and I say whatever you want. Because I'm not gonna go and say, oh, yo, I'm gonna kill you. I'm gonna do that. No, that's you, bro. I'm not. Listen, that's what I'm saying. But I don't know what is like when you go down to the park. Is it your purpose just to make fun of the Muslims, or is it basically to mock Islam?
You don't have to know what's my purpose, because, like I say, I'm gonna fix the Islamic problem. And I'm gonna do it.
That's not the right way to do so. Is it like, hold on? So you want to fix Islam? So that's how you're gonna do it, by making fun of the Muslims, right? No, that's not a good way. I think anybody on this planet is not gonna agree with you.
That's why since the beginning I say you don't have to agree with my method. The focus is not on me. The focus is on the Muslim community.
This way to be effective, though.
Marshall, you need to let him finish.
Bro, but no, because I want to know what is your look. Because I don't think anybody would agree with that way, though.
Doesn't matter what he's going, whether he's going to do handstands or he's going to play tiddlywinks in the park. Doesn't matter to you. What matters, I think, to people who are viewing is whether there's a conversation going on. So the motive of somebody seems to me irrelevant. Are they speaking the truth or not? Doesn't matter, because most Muslims in the park have got a very thin skin and have got a juvenile psychological disposition.
That's what I'm saying.
You know, does it matter?
And
Why is it important?
right, and that's what I'm saying. I don't know
So
why.
Marshall, listen to me. I have a solution for you. If you want me to disappear, ask the
No,
Muslim.
no, no, no. I don't.
No, wait,
I don't
hold
want.
on,
Listen,
hold on. Let me finish. If you want me to disappear, just ask the Muslim preacher, the debater, or the celebrity, stop preaching Islam. Then you will not see me on camera anymore. Mark my
No,
word.
but listen.
You can't have my word.
I
You
don't
will not
want you
see
to
me anymore the
disappear, though.
moment there are no Muslim preacher there.
Come-
But if there are Muslim debater preacher there talking about Islam, then I'm there to speak up a different view. Okay?
Right. So you can express your own opposite view about Islam, but when you go to the pub, because I've seen the videos, right? You're so aggressive. You keep shouting on the Muslims,
So
insulting
define
them, calling them
aggressive.
such names.
Shouting is aggressive.
That's
Punching people
aggressive.
are aggressive. This is what my point. Yeah. Islam is
Calling a
about
lot of Muslims homosexuals.
to you
That's not
priority.
aggressive.
You see, to you priority. Human's life is not the secondary. Number one priority is about defending the name of Islam. You are saying I'm aggressive because I make fun of Islam, but to you,
No, I'm not saying that.
punching, hitting me are not aggressive.
No,
You
I'm
see,
saying
you have lost the plot. You have lost the
you
plot. You
can
don't even
hold on.
know
No,
what
no,
is
what I'm
aggressive
saying.
anymore. What is
You can
aggressive? Tell me, what is
express your own.
aggressive?
But listen, don't get emotional. I'm saying you can express your own view in a nice way.
Why
Don't
do I
get
have to
that
express
kind
a
of
nice
aggressive.
view? Stephen Fry on a
Because that
big
shows
TV
how
screen,
bad you are.
he just say fuck everything. He just said fuck the God. Stephen Fry on big TV screen in
If I don't,
UK.
if I hold on. So if I don't, hold on. So if I'm a Muslim, right, and I know a lot of Christians, I don't agree with them on a lot of the things, right. So I'm not gonna go there and make fun of them and say, oh, you're the bad people, you're the
That's
Christian,
you.
you're the homosexual. No, that's not a good way to do so.
That's your opinion.
Right. So what about people? People gonna a lot of they're gonna condemn you for doing that.
Who's gonna condemn me? Let them
A
condemn.
lot of
Did I prevent them from condemn? I'm not like you. I'm not you. I do not go there and say you can't condemn me. See, that's
so that's your
different.
way.
Marshall,
So
everybody's
is
got
that
a
your
different.
way?
Marshall, everybody's got a different approach. Some people condemn me because I'm too charitable. Some people condemn Stops because he's too blunt. Some people condemn Amza. There's always going to be condemnations. Some of us condemn you sometimes. So that's just part of life. You just got to live with it. If he's not physically hurting anybody, he's not threatening anybody with some kind of violence, he's entitled to do what he does. I don't agree with everything Tan does. He might not agree with everything I say at the park or whatever, but he's entitled to do it. So questioning his motive or his approach, I don't think that's particularly useful, because you're not going to get him to change his mind, and we're not necessarily going to condemn him. I might disagree with some of the things that he says, because I think maybe there's a few things where he might not be entirely accurate, but that's as far as I go. If he claimed that he was going to, all Muslims should die or whatever the case is. Now, sometimes he makes fun. He says, oh, they should be banned or whatever the case. I mean, you can see him smiling in his face there. But if it was seriously, if tomorrow Tan went down there and said, hey, I want all Muslims dead and I'll give £1,000 to the first person who kills a Muslim, I would speak out against that immediately. In fact, I'd have him, I'd report him to the police. Now, he's not going to do that. So, all you're doing is saying, hey, you're doing it in a way that I don't like. Well, so what? I mean, Muslims should grow a thick skin. They need to rise to another level, which is free speech. We're not going to come down to their level. We were talking about this before the show started. So, if you want to ask that something, I mean, you've just got a personal opinion. So, you think he's whatever the case may be, that's fine. You're entitled to have your opinion. But, I mean, come question him on something substantive, not a subjective opinion, because he's not going to change his mind, and we're not necessarily going to condemn him.
No, that's fine. That's cool.
Well, if you've got something else you want to ask him, go for it. I mean, if it's just that you think he's a bit passionate about it.
That's my only question, though. No, I get that. That's his own way, so that's fine to me.
I mean, do you think that he's actually wrong on some of the things he says? And if so, what?
I don't think he's wrong. It's just the way that he's done it is not actually acceptable. Like it doesn't make sense. If you don't, that's my own view, right? It doesn't make that I'm saying it's not acceptable to him. It could be acceptable, but to me, it's not. Because if you don't agree with people, then why coming down and shouting, insulting them, calling them such names? That's actually immoral.
Is it okay when Muslims do that?
They do that, yeah. So then they're wrong, and I condemn what they're doing as well.
Is it okay when Muslims do what Tan does?
No, they're not.
Only a problem when Tan does it.
Not when the Muslims done it, that's wrong as well.
So why do you speak out against Muslim?
Yeah.
I said the way that he's doing it is not okay. It is actually incorrect.
Bias.
Okay, what would you suggest? How should he do that?
And that's why we have a brain. Calm down. We can talk. We can discuss, and then show me why I'm wrong. Don't come down and shout in my face.
Let's
you're a bad
sing
person.
Kumbaya song now, everyone together. 1, 2, 3.
Why I don't want to when you don't agree with it? Basically, you don't agree with a lot of point on Islam. bring a Muslim that you want to talk with him, discuss with him in a nice way. Don't come and just insulting him, shouting, calling because you called to hate a homosexual, right? And I don't think that's fine.
Why do you think that's insult? So did you see the irony here? I mean,
isn't that
why do you think
though?
that's insult? That's the problem. If I speak nicely and if I try to reason with Muhammad Tawhid, I will not show his true color because I did with my method. You can see he's homophobic. And he actually spoke out that the whole entire Muslim community are against gay people, and that's not compatible with
Well, how do you know
society.
he's gay though?
Without my method, he will not show his true color, and he tried to insult me, saying, when I turn my back towards him, he say, "Yeah, turn your back, you homosexual," as if it's an insult. I mean, so if I'm a heterosexual, I talk to you face to face means I'm what? Turn your front to me, you heterosexual. So he's using this homosexual word as an insult. For me, I don't care. When he call me I'm gayer, I don't care. I don't even know what the fuck gayer means. You see, if I don't use my method, I will not show his true color. Because of my method, his true color are shown. He's not honest. He's not sincere. He's there to win as for Muslim, for Islam. Ideology. Yeah. So trying to reason with these people will not get anywhere. I live among them. I know their way they work. So that's my philosophy.
Bruce Lee.
Yes, Bruce Lee.
There you go. Some people were saying you were
That's fine.
Bruce Lee in the
Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
But I
Islam
cannot
is
deny you're
using
funny
this
though.
philosophy, yeah?
You just make a lot of jokes in the park.
Yeah.
Okay,
then
Marshall, are you done with this?
Marshall, can I try and say something? Because the thing is,
Yeah,
you are
go
being
ahead,
a bit biased. You are being a bit biased. I mean, considering that you have watched as much videos as the rest of us from, say, the last couple of years. Let's be honest now. When people do debate with the Muslims, the Muslims there, and they win the debate or they make really good points, it's pretty much always the Muslims who are the first to start getting personal, to start getting aggressive, to start getting intimidating. Especially with the groups and gangs that they hang around with. We all see it in the videos, the physicality, the pushing and shoving, the cheering and, all that sort of stuff. Yeah, you see that they're the first people to behave in that way. However, they're also the first people that are constantly going on about we're the religion of peace, we're doing this, blah, blah, blah. So people like Tan are seeing this discrepancy and saying, well, you know what, this is bullshit. Let me turn up there and put their peacefulness to the test. Yeah. Now we live in a country where what Tan has done is not illegal, is not immoral. Your sensibilities might tell you that, but if you've grown up in the UK, you should know that this is not transgressing any laws. This is actually acceptable behavior in Speaker's Corner. So what he's done there is just like an experiment to demonstrate that if they genuinely were peaceful, they would turn around and say, "Oh, Tan, you're a rude guy. We don't want to talk to you. See you later," and move on. Yeah, because that's come on, let's be honest. That's what if you were a peaceful person, if somebody like Tan came to me and started behaving like that about my atheism, I'd just say, "Mate, you're just an idiot. I don't want to talk to you," and go and talk to someone else. I wouldn't start hitting him and punching him. So what he's done is basically proven his point 100%.
Yeah, and you know what? I think there was a Somalian black Muslim guy who tried to, I think he was trying to bully him. I don't know his name though. Yeah, but I think he knows the guy. Yeah.
Yeah. So what's your point? Is it? It's like you're trying to.
I'm just saying the
vent
way
your anger on me.
No, I'm saying
I'm not the focus here. I'm just one man here.
I'm just saying the way that I don't agree with your way, but you can have your own view.
Sure,
just the way you're
course.
doing it is not right.
Not everyone in this chat room agree with me. Yeah,
right.
Get that. Understand that. So it doesn't mean, but you can't silence me. You can't silence me.
No, but you know what? I cannot deny that the Muslims in the part they get triggered so easily. Because
that's the fundamental flaw about Islam or Muslim.
No, it's not Islam. It's the Muslims. Like you cannot associate Muslims with Islam. Those are the Muslims. Those are the people, right?
Why not? If you don't associate Muslim with Islam, then what the hell is Islam?
I'm saying the Muslims, when you say that you don't like something about Islam, they get triggered. They don't like it, so they get emotional, right?
Yeah. That means they're not following Islam. That means Islam is not working. Islam is a failure. So I prove my point again.
Why would you, no. Why would you associate Islam with the Muslims? Islam is something and the Muslims are something else. The people,
that's your belief. That's your belief. Islam and Muslim are the same thing. Without Muslim, there will be no Islam. There will be no Islam.
No, but what I'm talking about the human aspect. When they get triggered, that's not Islam. because they're human beings.
That's why. That's why. Where's this so-called religion of peace? They get triggered so easily compared to other religion, other people, other human. Are they fundamentally flawed?
That's not because
that's why
of Islam,
I'm saying that's why I'm saying we need to replace IQ test with religion. The one who take up Islam are the most probably the on the lower level, whatever that is. You know, they are not even human. They get triggered so easily. They want to kill, punch people in the name of Allah, a fake friend, imaginary friend. They belong in mental asylum. Yeah, they're crazy. They don't even know it. When I act crazy, I know I'm acting crazy. But when they're acting crazy, they do not know that. The Muslims do not know they're mentally ill.
I think the other point to make, Marshall, is that Islam is one of the few religions that gets people to believe that Allah is more precious, not Allah, Muhammad is more precious than the family. And then they react as if somebody was swearing or cursing at their mom or dad. Now, that in itself is a direct consequence of Islam. Nobody else, no other religion I'm aware of takes their, quote, prophet so seriously as to say, hey, my prophet is more important to me than my family, the people that grew up, that fed me, that loved me. I believe and I care more about some guy that died 1,400 years ago that I didn't even know, hardly met, and there's some books that supposedly talk about him. So there are direct consequences from Islam, and Muslims react based on what Islam tells them or what they perceive it to say. So there is a correlation. It's not like, hey, here's Islam in one corner and Muslims are all doing their own thing in the other corner. They are doing things in relation to what Islam teaches them.
Mm-hmm. 2 questions to Tan. Tan, apparently you said Heil Hitler. Did you say I can say Heil Hitler and get away with it? Or did you actually say Heil Hitler? Because we've got a child here in the chat who's insisting there's something wrong with that.
Yes, I can say that and get away with it because I'm trying to prove a point here that there's no free speech anymore in the West.
That's it. Okay, thank you for that statement. That's it. Second question, which is more serious. Are you or would you be willing to change your opinion on Islam if facts are presented to you, or is your mind made up on Islam?
Yes. Can I elaborate?
No, I think that's enough because we know you have explained that you do not like the ideas in Islam, and that is why you have made up your mind. So there are no facts that can be brought to you that will change your mind on Islam because it's in the Quran, it's fixed, you can't change it. Is that correct?
Can you repeat the question because I was so focused on the second question? Can you come and repeat that again?
Is it correct if I state that yes, I mean, I agree with you. I am also against the bad ideas in Islam, and no amount of telling me that those bad ideas are good ideas are going to change my mind. That's it.
Okay.
Is that correct? Would you agree with that?
So that if no amount of facts, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, I'm very confident there are no facts that can change my mind because they can't prove the Quran is real, it's from the God. So unless they can prove that this Quran is actually from the God, then they won't be able to do that.
No. It's about your opinion of Islam.
My opinion of Islam is a very deadly, poisonous ideology.
Exactly, but you're not going to change your mind because there are no facts that anybody can produce which changes it unless they change the Quran itself.
Okay, I get a question. Unless they modify the Qurans and right, yes. Mm-hmm. So I agree, yes.
Any other questions?
Is there a judge sitting in the chat room trying to?
I'm just reading the
feels
chat
like in the
at the
courtroom
same time
because I've got two. It's like yes, no. I can't elaborate, so it feels like in the courtroom.
No, I'm trying to keep it okay. For me, irrelevant or not so important questions or questions which you've already talked about don't need to be repeated, I think. So I'm just saying, listen, let's just go ba on the things which are obvious, and that's it. Because otherwise, we get long, drawn out things and repeat everything. So there's no point in that.
Right.
Yeah, Tim, just one thing I noticed. Try and answer on the particular topic, because I do notice, and it's just an observation, that you do sort of veer off and go into a little bit of a diversion there. So
sure.
If that happens, hopefully I have your permission to just remind you of what the original question was, because occasionally you do a little wander, but that's all good. It's all good.
Mm-hmm.
But just to keep it shorter so we can hear your answer, then I might just jump in there. There's something here. Again, maybe I'm just being slow tonight. Must be because TDS Dave is a smart guy, and he put in the comments here, I meant what needs the free speech of Speaker's Corner. What Muslims do, dawah, can take place anywhere. Okay, so now I think I understand that. What what TDS Dave is saying is the only way where you can do that is at Speaker's Corner, whereas they can go and do their dawah anywhere. So again, there's kind of, I hope if I'm getting it right, TDS Dave is alluding to the fact that, Muslims can go do that at any street corner or anywhere else. If you were to go and do that somewhere, let's say in Bradford or whatever, place that's heavily influenced by Muslims, you wouldn't have that same speech. You would quite literally probably be attacked. I mean, Tommy Robinson's been attacked there and other people have as well. So what he's saying, if I understand it, is you have to, Speaker's Corner is one of the safe places potentially where you can do it. Whereas doing dawah, of course, can be done anywhere. And what I think he's meaning is you should be able to say whatever you say and call them homosexual, do whatever.
I agree with that sentiment. So if a British or a white person or anyone from Europe or try to do that anywhere in the world, I mean anywhere in the country, they can't do it, but dawah can do it. So, but I have not tested this theory myself. I'm not trying to preach anything because I'm not a British. I'm actually I'm also a minority. I'm from East Asia, Southeast Asia. So if I try to do the same, maybe, I don't know what will happen, but I do not plan to do that because I'm preaching on the street. I mean, what do I want to preach? People nowadays, if you observe, they just walk past and they don't listen anymore. So yeah, but I agree with the sentiment. Yes.
Okay. Cool. That's good. Marshall, is there anything else you want to ask him? Because you now have Tan here, and obviously you're a Muslim. Or
I don't know what his belief. What is his belief? Does he follow something?
My belief? You want to know my belief? I've answered this a lot of time. I mean, my belief is just to keep learning, just keep living and figure things out, So now my purpose is to defeat Islam, It's like anti-bullshit. Anything that's not making sense, then I'll speak out against it and I'll work against it. So
right. So Chan, so your purpose of life is to defeat Islam, right?
Yeah, that's your fundamental flaw of Muslim.
No,
why must you need a purpose? Why must someone give you a purpose? You see, you're like someone that joined a company. You're not resourceful. You don't know. You don't have any initiative to try to look for something to do to help improve the company. You need someone to give you a task to do. You need someone to give you a purpose, and you found that from Islam. See, that's the flaw of Muslim. If I take Islam away, does it mean you will start killing people now because there's no purpose?
But I'm just
asking you can't do anything good because there's no Islam. You see, this is a flaw.
You're just
no, that's why you keep asking. You keep asking people what's your belief. What is belief? Is as if I don't believe, I'll start going to the street and murder someone else. You see, I don't need a book to tell me to do good. No, you said your purpose
of life is to defeat Islam, right?
Yeah, to live your life. I mean, are we not all gonna die? That's the ultimate truth.
But is that your purpose of life? That's all you want to do in your life.
Is that all you want to do in your life? What makes sense, and I'll try to do it. Live my life. Live my life. That's the ultimate purpose.
All you want to do I die. Just bring Islam down. That's all you want.
Yeah, that can solve a lot of problems. Helping people. When I say defeat Islam, it will help people. It's helping people. That's being productive. That's very productive.
But yeah, just continue though.
Because you believe in Islam, that's why you say it doesn't make sense. Because you don't have a purpose. If I take Islam away from you, you're not productive. You're unproductive. You're not a problem solver. I don't need you're kind of in the community. You are the type that will bring down the society as this disease spread to every part of the world. Yeah, you try to silence people. When people try to do good, genuinely they try to do good. You try to intimidate them. You can't do this. You can't speak like this. This is not right. This is not what is right. I mean, you don't even know what is right. You try to silence people from doing things differently. And Steve Jobs, what did Steve Jobs say? Think differently. And think differently doesn't work in Islam because you can't think differently in the Islam Muslim community. You see the flaw. That's why you don't have any innovation coming out now, because you can't think differently. You need a purpose from the book, which is like made up by people, wrote by total who, and you try to believe it. This is like as fake news as today's CNN or whatever, or Fox News or whatever you believe is fake news. Yeah. See, this is like the flaw of religious people, especially Muslims. Like last week I talked to this Jordan guy. He's like, if there's no religion, doesn't mean you can't do good. Why can't you do good as a normal human being? Why can't you do good as a normal human being? When you do something good, you must promote Islam, because Islam I'm doing this good. So if I take Islam away, you can't do good. Yeah. See, this is a problem with Muslim. It's like you try to go. The reason you go to Speaker's Corner is doing PR, and that's why no problem can be solved in Middle East in the Muslim community, because they are only focusing on PR. PR, advertising. They're not doing any groundwork. They're not doing any real work to fix the problem. They're just doing on PR, defending the name of Allah. Name of Allah means PR. You're just doing PR. You're not doing anything to solve the problem. Yeah. That's why there's no good leadership coming out from the Muslim community. There's no innovation, nothing. Remain stagnant. Yeah.
I've got a separate question. Somebody says you're killing it there. So your monologues there are resonating with some people in the chat. But somebody, one of the Muslims asked the question, how is Malaysia dealing with Islamification in the last 15 years? What are the changes that you've seen?
So, to be honest, I can't really tell because in Malaysia there's two parties, yeah. So the opposition and the coalition government. So the coalition government is like 80% racist and 20% Islamist, but the opposition is like 80% Islamist, no, 50% Islamist and 50% liberal. So we don't really have like a real left wing and right wing in Malaysia. It's like both party you vote for, there will be some extremists. So the moment that, let's put it for example, the moment the coalition government are losing, they will try to suddenly become the most Muslim they can ever be, the champion of Islam. You get my point? And in the opposition party, it's the same thing they've been saying, oh, we are fighting for Islam anyway. So that's why I'm saying we don't really have a left wing and right wing in Malaysia. And when you ask me how are they really fighting this, I don't know, because Malaysia are being squeezed in between by two power, so from US as well as from Arab, as well as from China. So so it's like everything's happening in Malaysia. We're like bad. We're doing terrible at everything. So so we don't really have a real terror attack yet, but we have one which is very small. There was one grenade being thrown into a pub in Malaysia. It just hurt someone. I don't think it killed anyone. So in that sense, I would say we are doing pretty well in fighting terrorism, as in physical violence. But in terms of eradicating extremist ideology from the Islamist party and from the Islamist world is terrible, because we are actually exporting university lecturer who teach people how to make bomb. So we are like supporting terrorists indirectly. Yeah, we teach them Muslim terrorists how to make bomb and kill people in Bali and so on. So if you're saying how are we doing, we're just like not good. I would say it's not good or not bad. It's just like in the middle. Yeah. So but now the thing is it's like a chain reaction from the whole world. So it's like a domino effect. Everything's falling apart. So after the Indonesia's fall down, collapse, the country's collapse is like total shithole now. According to Donald Trump, it's a shithole country. This Islamist ideas is taking over slowly, bit by bit, chipping away our country, and that's why it's on the decline. But the politician will always use it to stay in power. The moment you try to challenge this current government, they will always be the champion of Islam, all of a sudden, for no reason. So, if you understand my point, is that a good answer, or I mean, do you need more elaborations?
No, I think you've articulated your view there. So, because that was just what somebody in the chat was asking there. So, obviously, you're still going to go down to a speaker's corner. Is there anybody in particular that you haven't spoken to that you do want to speak to?
So actually, I want to talk about the Ali Dawah thing. I mean, I think that's something that a lot of people are missing the point, but I don't want to talk about it today. So I'm not sure when I'll talk about it. So let's see what happened. But to be honest, I don't really want to talk to all of this nonsense celebrity. They're all bullshit. I mean, it's already proven over and over again. They're not sincere. They're not honest. They're there for camera. They just always look at the Muhammad Tawi. It's all about camera. Just always focus on the camera. It's not about real talk. There's no real discussion. They're always there to win. I mean, even though we can prove Quran is not real, we can't prove it, they will still come back the next week and say Islam is the only real religion, blah, 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 blah. It never gets anywhere. They're not there to solve problems. So if you ask me, I don't really want to talk to this nonsense celebrity anyway. They're all bullshit. Muhammad Hijab, all this Ali Dawah, anything. But I will talk about Ali Dawah probably this Sunday. Maybe not to him, or maybe to someone else, but let's see. I'm just going to talk to anyone I like. So if you ask me, I don't really want them there anyway. So they don't want me there. I do not want them to be there as well, because they are not sincere. They're not there to fix problem, and I'm really trying to fix this problem. And so I do not really want to talk about this celebrity unless they want to talk to me. So when they talk to me, I'm going to make fun of them. So fair game. Yeah.
To some degree, I agree. I mean, we have exposed and shown a number of the tactics that get used there by many of these regulars. The only, like I said, I don't know if you watched any of the videos on my channel. There's only one Muslim that, one that stands out in my mind that said, I'm not going to, again, generalize for every Muslim. But I agree with you that the regular visitors down there, most of them use tactics and are dishonest because they don't have anything else. So the ammunition, the truthful ammunition, the evidence is not in their favor. They've got like a gun belt and they've got a gun that's got no bullets in it. So all they can do is blow smoke because they can't actually fire any real bullets. But there was one Muslim that certainly I can disagree with him. Of course, I don't think he was correct on anything, but he was a polite one. If you look at my channel, there was a guy that I sort of call polite Hamza, and that's the sort of dialogue that you could hopefully have with somebody. You know,
Polite Hamza.
He was very humble. You know, and he just said, "Hey, none of us are walking encyclopedias. Can we have this conversation?" Blah blah blah, and then we did. You know, and that's the sort of person I could go and have lunch with, or have a chat to, or invite to come around to have dinner with me or something. And we could disagree the entire night, but we would never get upset with each other. And at the end of the day, you know, I think that's more productive. But there's so few of them that it's just such a rarity when you encounter somebody like it.
Is it a different Hamza that I met?
Yeah. No, definitely not Redbeard Hamza.
Okay,
He's
not the ginger.
the exact opposite of being polite and courteous and charitable. So no. I've had a couple of conversations as well.
Okay.
And of course, you know, but people like that. It is. You're quite right. It's for the camera because they need to look good because they've got some minions that follow them that always comment how wonderful they are no matter what. And TDS Dave said this quite well. You know, and you said it as well. It's like the celebrity, and people will cheer for them no matter what the celebrity does. You know, there were still people that thought O.J. Simpson, you know, should have been found not guilty, that sort of thing. And Michael Jackson and whoever it is, whatever celebrity it might be, there's always people who follow them. Lance Armstrong. I used to be a fan of Lance Armstrong. I read the 200-page report, and I was like, Lance Armstrong was like one of my sporting heroes. And then I read the 200-page report. I'm going, this man was a dishonest, cheating charlatan. You know, all you have to do is take evidence. It was a big thing to do because now you normally you kind of go, you look up to somebody as a inspiration, but when you get overwhelming evidence that that's not the case, you know, that's where you have to change your mind. But a lot of Muslims, there's nothing that Muslims can say at the park that their fellow believers or followers will call them out on. You know, so that's the sort of followers you get. Completely credulous and gullible, meaning that they will just accept whatever's being told. They'll never look it up, and they will just clap like little penguins and just agree with whatever's being said there.
That's a nice picture.
Right. So it's Hamza, polite Hamza. Yeah. Maybe I will look up your channel.
Yeah, have a look at it on Speakers Corner UK channel. I'm not saying that he was correct about anything or that he's super knowledgeable,
but it's worth discussing with him as well.
I like to. He's not there anymore. He only came for 3 weeks. He was born in Bangladesh, and then he's been educated somewhere because you can hear he's articulate in the way he speaks. You know, he's not like an ignorant guy. And by the way, I don't have a problem with ignorance. We're all ignorant on many topics.
Yeah, me too.
But what we shouldn't do is claim that we've got knowledge when we are clearly ignorant. When you open your mouth and you make claims like we've had, and Marshall can back me up, in some of the private chats, hangouts we had recently, people open their mouth and say, yeah, I believe in science. And then the next few sentences demonstrates they are absolutely clueless on what the topic they're talking about. And I think that's the problem, when people are either willfully ignorant or they just will not learn and then want to claim that they've got knowledge on something. So, yeah, he was an articulate guy. Have a look and so forth. But he was, obviously, I believe he's wrong in basically everything he's saying, but at least you could have that conversation. It's not a shouting match and all the rest of it. So, but like I say, it's rare that happens.
Sure, I'll try to look it up. I mean, if it makes sense, maybe I'll just look for him once I know how he looks like. And
like I said,
on camera or off camera, it doesn't matter. I mean, it's like you know, it's like Bruce Lee trying to fight off the fake kung fu. You know, he tried to go around the street and looking for fake kung fu and beat the shit out of them. But eventually, he found one from Shaolin Temple, and they have this closed door fight, which nobody knows what's the result. But since then, he changed. You know, since then
you're not talking about that. You're not talking about the guy in. We're going off on Bruce Lee, but you're not talking about the one in San Francisco when he wanted to train non-Chinese, and then he had to go before that council, and then they brought a champion.
Out of it. Yeah, right. Because
the Chinese mentally. But he beat him. I mean, if you look at his biography, he talks about it. Or Linda, whatever her name is, his wife talks about it, where he said like he beat him in about 2 minutes, but he was very disappointed. He thought the fight should have been over in 10 seconds, and then he changed his style and he learned something. So. Yeah. By all accounts, he won the fight quite convincingly, but it took longer than he ever thought. And he was like, "Why did this take 2 minutes? It should have been over in 10 seconds."
Right.
So,
and then suddenly he gets very philosophical after that, and that kind of movement kind of eventually leads to the creation of MMA, because the real kung fu is you have to have real combat experience. That's why we have MMA, the fights and so on.
Yes,
that's how we progress. You know.
By the way, do you think that video of him playing against table tennis players and he's hitting the table tennis ball with the nunchucks, that looks real, but do you think it is real? Have you seen that video?
I think has been proven as Photoshop. I mean, as video editing. I mean, it's a commercial from Finland, probably. Yep. I can't remember.
I agree.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's
fake,
a commercial.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It looked too good to be true, but
Yeah.
you know.
But his
it's-
fist is really fast. So I mean, it's true that his fist is so fast that the camera can't even have to slow down to capture that speed. So, but yeah, I mean, he's not. He won't. He's. I don't think he's unbeatable. But just that I think the way he tries to achieve perfection is real. So it's not
Yes,
trying
yeah,
to
I
be
mean,
fake. Yeah. So
it's you know it's very you can look up to his training and his methodology and all that.
Yeah.
Although some people that actually trained with him said for his size he was incredibly strong and powerful for his size. I mean, obviously, if he went up against a heavyweight, that would be a bit challenging. But but the punches and stuff were very, very strong.
Yeah,
you know.
He knows his weakness. That's why when he start going to West and then he know his weakness. He say that's why he tried to eat less Chinese food and eat more nutritious food, because if you look at Chinese food, it's just 80% rice. That's not good for bodybuilding. So he actually he still loves Chinese food, but he knows that if I keep eating Chinese food, he will not be able to build a good body to have a proper martial arts training and so on. That's why he changed to be more scientific, more nutritious diet and so on. So see, he's being honest, That's why he changed from Wing Chun to a different form of being formless. Just keep absorbing useful skill from anyone, and it's just incorporate that to his own style. And yeah, so
Jeet Kune. Anyway, off Bruce Lee. I'm also a fan of Bruce Lee, so that's all good. Is there any more chat? Is there any more comments in the chat, or does anybody else in the panel want to bring up anything? I mean, obviously with Tan or any other comments. I mean, there's been a lot of silence there, so feel free if you want to ask Tan, or if you've got a comment on something else that the conversation could go towards. Or Tan, if you've got something else you want to say that you haven't mentioned yet.
I actually have a message for LGBT community, but I'm too tired to actually make a proper statement. Like I said, I'm a real introvert. I don't really like to speak a lot, but I have to speak to solve this problem. That's the thing about human. If I don't speak up, nobody will know, and then how do you solve the problem? So, but maybe next time, or maybe in Speaker's Corner, I'll make the statement. I have a statement to the LGBT communities about and Islam. Yeah, but so I'm just too tired to string together a statement for that.
Well, save it for the corner then, and get it on camera. Go to content over everything. Shout out. I think he was in the chat earlier.
Maybe. Let's see. Or maybe next time we will have more. Whatever. Let's see what happens. Or maybe on BBC or. Well, I don't know. I'm just saying I'm too tired to talk about that statement. So if there's any more question, I'm willing to answer, but I don't really have a final statement.
Okay, not a problem.
Yeah.
Anybody else got something on the panel they want to say?
Yeah, I got a quick question. I remember you talking about the similarities between, communism and Islam. And it brings me back to a quote that somebody said. They said that, there is no God, and, Karl Marx is his prophet. I was wondering if you could maybe, get into the, details between communism and Islam.
So your question is are you asking me, did I base on a similarity because of that, or is it something else?
No, just what do you see in general?
Okay, yeah, I think I understood your question. So that part is true as well, but it's not only that. It's the fundamental similarities between these two is like both are faith-based governance. Faith-based as in, if you believe, then everything will be perfect. In communism, everything is perfect as well. We are like a collective society. Everyone are equal. That's a very faith-based statement. And Marxism is like, if we all are good, then there will be world peace. But that's not how the world works, right? It's like if we are all good people, if we are all not greedy, the world will be peaceful. No, that's not how the world works. We are human. We are flawed human beings. Yeah, that's why faith-based governance never doesn't work, and capitalism works because capitalism understand the flaw of human nature. Yeah, so that's why when I say these two are the same, because both of them are faith-based governance. Yeah, if you get that, that's the keyword, faith-based. So in communism, if you believe in Communist Party and everything, it will be perfect. We are all equal. But see what happened. It doesn't work. But the thing is, at least communism gives us science, and Islam gives us shit. Does that answer your questions?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Cool. Is there any other questions? Oh, there was one here. Tan, there was a question here. Let me just see if I can find it. Question for Tan. Does he know about Wahhabism? And if so, what extent? Do you know about Wahhabism? And if so, what extent?
So I'm not an expert, and to be frank with everyone, I'm not an expert to all the sect in Islam, but I don't see why I need to be an expert in all of these different sect of Islam to fix this problem, because Wahhabism or not, I mean, it's all part of Islam anyway. So if you can't fix it, then how do you fix the problem? Everyone are Islam? I mean, all the sect, Sunni, Shia, everything Islam anyway. So
well, I guess the reason the question's been asked is because like this particular Muslim in the chat will claim that Wahhabism is an extreme sect. He doesn't agree with it. They don't represent Islam or what Muslims should be. And so, you know, what the reason I'm saying that is because there'll be some Muslims that go, hey, you're generalizing all Muslims, and hey, we are like the peaceful ones, like the Sufis, for example, or the Ahmadiyyas, or some of the Shias, for example. So they've got, while they still believe some of the same tenets, obviously there's something they disagree with. So the claim that I think is being made is, hey, because you're speaking to these sort of more extremist Wahhabism, which is the general people in Speaker's Corner, are you not generalizing that to all Muslims?
Yeah. So I understand that. So you're saying my answer is so I have read up a bit of Wahhabism, and I understand that and based on the explanation given by a Muslim as well about Wahhabism, and I get that. So yeah, okay. So what if, even if it's true, the Wahhabism is the most extreme one, and that's not the all Muslim, but when you ask a non-Muslim, how can they tell the difference between the Muslim? Nobody can tell. Just like you can't even tell the white people. All white people look the same, but you keep blaming all the white people for the problem. There are so many different white people from Germany, from Poland, from Ukraine, from United States. There's so many different white people, you can't even tell. And when bad things happen, nobody can tell who is who. All black people look the same. All Chinese look the same. And some Chinese are being called Japanese, Korean. Nobody can tell the difference. That's what I'm saying is we need to be realistic, yeah? What I generalize doesn't matter. You need to understand this is the real world. When something bad happens, nobody can tell the difference. You can't tell the difference between me, who am I? The first time Muslims see me, they call me communist. They thought I'm Chinese, which they are somewhat true, but I'm not from China. I'm from Malaysia. So it's the same thing for all races, all cultures. So this is trying to be realistic, not trying to be nice and so on. That's what I'm saying when I say shut down all the mosques funded by Arab. That's actually the most humane solution that I have to offer, but I will not elaborate more why I say this is the most humane. I'm just saying when terrible things happen, nobody can tell the difference who are who. Just like you can't tell which white people are Irish, which white people are Scottish, and which white people are British in UK. So how can people tell who are who, which Muslim, if you don't fix this problem, all Muslim are bad Muslim anyway. Understand that. It's the same for everyone. It's the same for everyone.
Okay,
we are all biased.
That's what I wanted to get to, and I think that's the point of objection that I think some of the Muslims would have is you're saying all Muslims are violent or all Muslims are bad, if I understand you correctly. And their claim is no, that's these Muslims doing these bad things don't represent us. They have taken the Quran out of context. So I guess that what they're saying is, and that's hopefully what you're answering here, is no, Tan, you're wrong, because not all of us are like that. Some of us are peaceful, some of us don't take the Quran literally, therefore we would never bomb people, whatever the case is, but we still consider ourselves Muslim. So we take an objection to the fact that you are saying that all Muslims are bad. I think that's part of the claim that they would make. Some of the Muslims.
Sure, then why do we blame American for bombing the Middle East? Not all American are bad. You see, when we try to present these ideas or discussion like this, then we don't get anywhere. You see, we don't get anywhere at all. It's like, oh, we can't blame anyone, so end of story. That's where the discussion stops.
No, so I guess,
yeah.
So I guess, you know, two wrongs don't make a right, I guess would be the thing. So when they say, oh, Americans are bombing the Middle East, you could and would rightly say, hey, that's not all Americans. And there's lots of Americans that disagree with that. But to use that to say, hey, but all you guys are saying all Americans, therefore I'm going to say all Muslims, is probably not necessarily the way to counter that particular claim. So let me ask you directly, because maybe then you can answer it. Do you think all Muslims are bad, evil, or violent, or do you think it's only certain Muslims?
So I would say somehow yes, but the reason I'm saying that is because I believe this book, this Quran, is wrong. It's a cult. It's a warrior cult religion. So if you still want to defend these ideas and not willing to change, then you are part of the problem. You're not part of the solution. So I will stick to that, saying yes. Until we solve this problem, then all Muslims are part of the problem. You're not solving it because this is fundamentally wrong. Why does Muhammad has 13 wives and all this nonsense that has been brought up over and over again? How was this religion created? So if you still want to follow this book and you're not going to fix this problem, then yes, I have to make a statement. This is necessary. Just like you blame all the communists are communists, which is right, until we fix this problem.
Okay, but what would you say? So what would you say, Tan? Because okay, I can see where you could make a point where you say, hey, if Muslims are not condemning, or because all Muslims believe in the book to whatever degree, because they all want to interpret it slightly differently, they're part of the problem. Okay, so that's one part of it.
Not just condemning, fighting the system. The system is Islam. Islam is the system. We have to fight the system. Understand that? That's what I'm saying. Not just condemning. Condemning is just words play, just playing words mouth. I mean, that doesn't mean anything. We need to solve this, fix it, fight this system. Disrupt the system or disassemble the system. Yeah, and that's
okay.
Islam.
So what?
Yeah.
Okay, so but what would you say? Let's say, because there's a Muslim in the chat there, and he's not able to join for whatever reason at the moment. But let me just play devil's advocate, and you can respond, in whatever way. If he were to come on the show, if I'm representing him reasonably accurately, he would say, "Hey, do you know what? The Muslims that commit all of these violent acts, they're misrepresenting the Quran. And hey, actually, it's peaceful. It's been taken out of context. I would never do any of those things. So why are you blaming all Muslims? You are more than welcome to say that Islam itself per se is a negative if you take a literal version. But hey, I as a Muslim don't take a literal version. I take it in this way, which is more peaceful, and we're all happy, clappy, and all that sort of stuff. So his objection to you could be that's just the worst possible way of looking at the Quran. He and other Muslims don't do that. They do condemn all this. I'm just playing devil's advocate, remember?
Yeah, sure, I understand.
They do condemn all this violence and so forth. They wouldn't do it themselves. They just want to be able to believe their thing and live peacefully with other people. And what will your response be to a Muslim like that?
My response to that is going back to the faith-based governance. Is like if things can be taken out of context, that's the flaw of your book. Why can things be taken out of context? This religion should be easy to understand. You have 1.6 billion Muslims in the world. Why can't it be simple for anyone that anyone can understand? Why must you make it so complicated that nobody can understand that? It can be taken out of context with words that doesn't make sense in the 21st century. Yeah, I actually have for one of this page in Surah. I have to look it up, but it's talking about there's this translation. You can blame it on translation, but if things cannot be translated, if it cannot be communicated to anyone and people can misunderstood, then the fault is on you. The fault is on you. The book itself is wrong. Why are you spreading a religion that can be misunderstood so easily? That's your flaw. Yeah.
Okay, so on that point, I would agree with you. If this God is all powerful and all knowing and so forth, the message could have been crystal clear that no interpretation would be necessary.
Precisely,
and
yes.
I've put that to Muslims, and I've never really got an adequate response. But I guess if I just push you a little bit more on not so much the book, because I agree with you on that point, but if a Muslim comes and says to you, "Hey, Tan, I condemn all this extremism. This is my interpretation of the book." I agree with you on the argument about the book, but would you agree that if that Muslim came and said, "Hey, I denounce all violence, all of these people, they're wrong. This is my reading," you could say, which you have done, that the book is the problem. But would you still characterize that particular Muslim as a bad Muslim? Bad in the sense that.
So at that point,
Mm-hmm.
sorry, at that point, I will go offline with him. It's between me and him, and I don't have to tell the world what do I think about him. And again, if we're doing this on the camera, he's just going back to he's just doing it for PR sake. He's not really fixing any problem because I'm so speaking out so much about Islam. That's why he come and he only talked to me, and he didn't actually try to fix this real problem within the Muslim community. Again, I will look at it as just PR. There's no solution. He's not working on a solution. So I don't even care about that. So, but if he's actually sincere, he actually doing some work that I can show to me that he's actually fixing this problem from within the community and speak to me one-to-one offline, then I don't have to justify to the world what I think about him, because that's between him and me. It's our relationship between us two. None of your business, none of anyone's business. Would that be okay? Okay, answer.
Yeah, sure. No, I'm not here to judge your answers right or wrong in the sense of what you believe is what you believe. And so, okay, so you would be open to having a conversation with a Muslim off the camera where he's not trying to do the PR work, and it's possible that you could accept that there are some Muslims that are trying to actually change the world for the better, even though they still believe in a book, which I agree with you. It could be, the book is trivially easy to improve. We've spoken, and people that are on this panel know even more than than I do, and they've done many of these things, etc. So the book is very easy. It could have one sentence in there which says, "Do no harm to any other living creature." Boom. Then any Muslim that ever claimed to do violence would never be called a Muslim. And of course, as you probably know, we've got Jainism that says that sort of thing. So if a Jain went around blowing people up, we'd say, no, that's not a Jain. But we can't necessarily say the same. And they're fighting hard to try and make it sound as if it is the same. You know, that Islam is like Jainism. And it's definitely not like Jainism, especially if you take Muhammad's example into account as well, which they claim as well. So I agree with you. Okay, so that's fine. Is there any other questions that anybody has or wants to contribute at this moment? I'm happy to go on, but I don't want us just to sit on here if there isn't anything more. Tan, obviously, if you're tired, I totally understand. If there's anybody else who wants to comment, now's the opportunity. We've got we're on every Friday, but we're here now. Go for it, Answer.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask Tan. I know he's a bit tired, but it's just, I was trying to ask him earlier, but I didn't get around to it. I just wanted to ask him, like on a personal level, before he came to Speaker's Corner, obviously he seemed like he's quite thorough, so he probably would have found out what he could about the people, characters, and situation. So I just want to know from him, like, like the way things turned out after him coming here and actually turning up there a few times. How different is that from how you expected or thought things would go?
Are you asking what's my expectation? I mean, I don't have expectation. I'm just living the moment, I'm just
I'm saying what were your expectations like beforehand, before you actually ever came here? What did you expect or think might happen with you coming and doing what you do?
Like I said, I don't have expectation. I just found out about this by talking to a random stranger on the street, and they said, hey, actually it was in a pub, a British guy. So I actually experienced both racism in that pub as well as friendly people in the same pub. And but that British guy told me, hey, you should go to Speaker's Corner, and people can talk about anything. And they say, okay, no, that's where I learn. And I go there. I don't have any expectation, no expectation, zero expectation. And that's
okay,
it.
so you were already in the UK, and then you found out about it.
Right. I didn't know about Speaker's Corner. Actually, when I traveled to UK, I was actually heading to this talk by that. Do you know what's the name of that Muslim scholar who was accused of being a rapist? Tariq something, I think.
Ramadan.
Right, Ramadan. So I actually went to his talk, and that whole thing was cancelled. And that's when I'm like, okay, now I'm in London. What do I do? And then I stay, and then I heard about this Speaker's Corner and said, okay, maybe I'll stay here and go to Speaker's Corner and see. My plan just evolved from there. So yeah. So actually last week.
Okay, sorry. So I was wrong then. When you went to Speaker's Corner, you hadn't researched all the videos and characters. So sorry. No. Okay, I didn't know that. Yeah.
No expectation.
You totally had no idea. You didn't know what to expect.
Nope.
You literally just turned up just by finding out about it while you were around.
Yeah. The first day I'm there, and then there's this Muslim is trying to intimidate that uncle. I think the Indian uncle. Yeah. And insulting.
Yes, I was going to ask you that. Was that the first time you went there? Because I captured that on camera. So that's on my channel where you asked, "Are you a Muslim?" And he goes, "Yeah." And then you, I know why now. Yeah. That tells me. Yeah.
That was like the welcoming package for me. It's like, okay, I'm gonna stay here and do this. I mean, this is like, okay. The first time I'm there, there's this Muslim trying to intimidate the uncle, and then insult his Hindu god or something. I think he's Christian, but somehow he tried to insult, call him cow. And that's the same problem in Malaysia. The Muslim try to slaughter cow in front of the Indians, the Tamil, and that's fine for them. But the moment we try there's this British guy who throw a pork in the bacon and the mosque, and he was jailed for how many years? You see how the fundamental difference between the Western society and the Muslim society. They don't protect the minority. They just do what they think is right, and they don't care about minority. Yeah. So, but yeah, that goes back. Going back to that, I don't have any expectation.
Tan, I think this question comes from Indonesia. Can you explain the Chinese convert to Islam who became more puritanical than a born Muslim?
Become more what?
Ace, can you ask again, is there a specific Chinese convert? Is there a name, or is there anything that you can give? Because at the moment, this doesn't ring a bell with me, and it looks with Tan, it also doesn't.
I think that originally Indonesia, Islam was spread by a minority from China. They actually went to Indonesia and spread Islam so a specific race from China that went.
Became more puritanical than those born into Islam.
What does puritanical means? I'm sorry, my English is not the best. What does it mean?
So it's more like I'd say zealous, I guess. Would that be?
Okay.
Or pure,
Yeah, I get that.
as in like thinking, following the book more closely, literally type of thing?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I sure, why not? That might happen, or maybe that he's doing that for survival. If you go look up the video now, there's so many anti-Chinese video sprout by the Muslim in Indonesia. Maybe he's doing that out of our survival, or maybe he's doing it because like all the ginger Muslim convert in UK, they're somehow more crazy, So it's really hard to tell. How can I answer? I'm not Indonesian, but the thing is, you can see the difference in Indonesia and Malaysia.
Okay, then forget it. I thought there was a particular one, but I didn't understand this from the looks of it.
Maybe he need to brought up some pictures and reference so I can look it up, like Joseph Prince you brought up earlier. I don't even know who that is until you brought up the pictures. So yeah.
Okay, I think that's about it.
Yeah, unless anybody's got anything else to say. Saracen, tell Rob that the real Muhammad was black.
Okay.
All right. Well, Tan, thank you very much for coming on the show.
Sorry, I got you wrong.
obviously-
I thought I remembered you from further east. I'm sorry. Sorry, Ace.
Oh, okay. You're talking about something else there.
Yeah, in the chat, because I thought I remembered that Ace was one further to the east. I was wrong. Sorry.
No worries. Stops, have you got a, because Abu's already been tired, have you got a hadith to close us off with? Could you find one? Yeah, sure. Go for it. In the meantime, I want to thank the guests who's been on, Tan. Thanks for coming on. TJ, Ansa, and Marshall, thank you for joining us. Thank you to everybody who's been watching. We'll just wait for Stops. He will read a hadith, which we do at the end of most shows, just to show how interesting the hadiths are and whether people actually believe they're true today. And I've always said it, if they drop the claim that, the hadiths or the Qur'an are still valid today, I think we'd have a lot less to talk about. But the fact that they want to claim that it's still valid today and they make excuses and try and reinterpret things, I think it's observably preposterous, and we all point that out regularly.
Well, we talked about the scientific miracles, right?
Yes.
And we had the good doctor from India always telling us that Nur means the reflected light, which is why Allah is a reflected light. And in this case, it is our good friend Abu Huraira, who in Sahih Bukhari 454, 422 says, the Prophet said, the sun and the moon will be folded up, deprived of their light on the day of resurrection. So who would have thought that they will be deprived of the light when our expert, Zakir Naik, said it's not light, but it's reflected light? Oh, goodness gracious me.
I wonder who's right then.
Oh dear, now what?
No, you're such an Islamophobe. Stop.
Yeah. No, I'm a Zakirophobe. Zakirophobe.
He's in Malaysia too, hiding out, that little bastard too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he got in trouble in India, so he fled to Malaysia, and
they finally kicked him out. Okay, everybody like the show, everybody subscribe, everybody do the usual thing, and be good for God's sake. No, without God. What was this? It was such a nice, be good without God. Yeah, there you go. Be good without
God. So just a quick one, Stops. I'm not available next Friday. I will be working specifically very late until after 10. So if you're able to host a show, great. If not, we'll take a show's break. On the 16th, we've got a gentleman by the name of Ed Atkinson, and he's going to be talking about the ethics of belief. And he will bring in, because he's done some presentations on this. He's an agnostic that I met at the Unbelievable Meetup, which is a group in London that meets up near Houston. It's definitely a higher level of conversation than at Speaker's Corner. He was down in Speaker's Corner. I've got some videos of him as well. He's quite an articulate gentleman, so he'll be with us on the 16th. But unless you're able to host on the 9th, we will take a break. But I might be able to join after 10, but by that stage you might have finished the show. But I definitely can't do it next week. So let me know, not a problem. And obviously we'll just publish the show, and those that are subscribed will get a notification.
No, it looks good, because 14 15, 16, I'm finished. Should be back 17. Yeah, 18, I should be ready. I just need to
so
find a
you
topic.
you can do the 9th. Maybe Ansar or Abu
I
can
can do
join
the
you.
9th.
Or, yeah. Okay.
I
Cool.
just need to find a topic, and you need to show me how to do this with the funny show, the waiting thing, because I find that quite impressive that you can go and look on on your subscriptions, see this thing, and then it will change to active like automatically. I like that. I've never seen that.
Sorry, what do you mean? What are you talking about?
When you schedule a
Yes.
show, you
Yes.
say, okay, on Friday, X time, blah, 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 we're going to start.
Yeah.
Then it somehow has this photo and blah, 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 and then it changes into live.
Yes, yeah. Okay, so that's all preset. It's called upload defaults, and it's
Okay,
preset
but
in the channel.
will you have time during the week at least to quickly give me a quick rundown?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep, no
brilliant.
problem.
Okay.
Yeah, will do.
All right, that's it then. Cheers.
All
Goodbye,
right.
everyone.
Thank you to everybody in the panel. Thank you to all the viewers, those in the chat. We will be Stops will be back next Friday at same time, 8 p.m. Thanks again to Ten as our guest for this evening.
And for me, it's
let's
6
keep up the
o'clock in the morning,
conversation.
I'll have you know.
Thank you for having me.
Sorry?
For me, it's 6 o'clock in the morning, but I was only there for 3 days, so jet lag never really set in.
Oh, there you go. Good. So thanks again to everybody. Stops will be back next week with whoever wants to join him on the panel. Until then, take care. Let's keep the conversation going, and we'll speak to you again soon. Good night, everybody.
And more provocation.
Good night.
Good night.
Cheers.